Hello,
everybody, and welcome back.
Wow, what an incredible
the
start to this
McDonCast.
podcast.
I had to close the door. The funnest podcast in town. The only podcast around.
The most prepared
Welcome
podcast
back.
in town.
Well, this episode is a bit of a rush job, and
Impromptu
that's not
recording.
good because we have a lot of news to cover because a lot of things happened
That's
this
right.
week.
And we're going to be very unprofessional, just like always, but this time we're going to speed through everything, so it's extra hard to listen to.
That's the goal here at
We
the
care about you,
McDonCast,
the audience.
only podcast. Well, think about it this way, if they had another podcast to watch to compare ours to, they might get the impression that we are like lower quality than most. But since we are the only podcast,
correct,
we're the best podcast.
Right. No one's doing it worse, but also no one's doing it better.
Exactly. See,
what
exactly.
Are they gonna listen to?
So we
the
are
radio.
No one's listening to the radio's been dead ever since the McDonCast.
Did you know that one company owns all the radio stations?
I did know that, and that's why they play the same 30 odd songs in every radio station over and over forever.
Stations. That's why they only.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, they only play Mississippi.
Anyways, let me give you guys a brief rundown of the docket today. We are starting off with trailers, and that's it. Tucker did not finish the docket.
Correct.
There is other stuff that we will be talking about.
It'll be a surprise.
It'll be a surprise, but mainly it will be related to Star Wars.
Correct.
And just honestly, just a lot of Star Wars. Mostly 90% Star Wars today. Star Wars Day.
Unless you care about Jesse Eisenberg's next film.
Yeah. Anyway, so Star Wars Day.
No shame.
All right,
to you,
starting
Jesse
things off,
Eisenberg.
let's talk about some trailers.
Sam.
Other than a one-off villain from a random episode of the Powerpuff Girls, tell me about him. What's him up to?
Him is a new film from producer Jordan Peele. Does that mean anything to you?
I saw Nope, and Nope is really good. And Jordan Peele made that, and he was part of a comedy duo that was very successful.
This is from Justin Tipping, who is a
not Justin Timberlake.
Not Justin Timberlake, not involved. Justin Timberlake,
okay.
Justin Tipping is directing from a script by Zach Ackers and Skip Bronke, who are TV writers. This was a script that appeared on the Blacklist a few years ago. I don't know if you know what that is. It's basically an annual list of unproduced screenplays that are voted by agents in Hollywood as the best ones out there every year. This was
right.
I saw this. I look at that every now and then when they put them out there.
I'm going to real quick switch my mic over, but I'm going to keep talking because I'm going to go grab my food from the door.
Okay. I'll keep yapping. I look at those every year for a little bit when they come out. So I remember looking at this premise. It used to be called Goat. They've changed the name to Him. But
the Goat?
Like the Goat, correct. I
should be confused with the other movie, The Goat.
Oh, but the animated basketball goat. I know what you're talking about.
Yes. Not to be confused with The Goat.
Which probably won't exist. Anyway, this stars Marlon Wayans as the...
From Wayne's World?
Not from Wayne's World, but from White Chicks, so just as equally acclaimed.
I've only ever seen White Chicks once, and I'm going to be honest, guys. Kind of not good.
This is the second time White Chicks has come up on this podcast this year.
It says it's great, but I don't think that they have watched it since they were
Who
13.
is telling you it's great?
Just people who've seen it. I feel like everyone who's seen it, they treat it like it's a classic.
Are those people white?
Some of them, but some of them aren't.
I know it's very big in the black community, and I say more power to you.
I have heard many people of all different...
I have too. I hear most white chicks...
that they like it and that they don't like it.
Most white chicks discussion is like that, what if white chicks but in reverse? It's like that.
That wouldn't
people
be
make
very
that
funny.
argument. Yeah, they're doing that. That's most of the time when people talk
Also,
about
we did that. We did that with Tropic Thunder, and everyone still thought it was hilarious. So,
and
like,
we
we already
also
know
did
what
that
that looks like.
in every movie.
We also did that in every
Until the
minstrel show ever.
1960s.
And then we decided maybe that we had done enough of that.
Anyway, this movie is about a former college wide receiver turned rising star quarterback who gets hurt before the NFL draft, and then is taken in by the greatest quarterback of all time, played by Marlon Wayans, to come train at his compound to like get back in it. And then it turns out he's a freak who's like doing weird cult type stuff and maybe sold his soul to the
I
devil
did
or
see the trailer.
something.
Yeah, I do remember. I read the synopsis. For this.
Interesting concept. Clearly written by two guys who probably don't know that much about football. Just driven by the description of the movie on the YouTube trailer, which states him stars former college. Oh wait, he's a real guy. Okay, now that makes sense. The lead character in the movie is played by a former college football player.
Yeah.
Okay, the way I read it the first time was it kind of sounded like former college wide receiver is a rising star quarterback, and I was like, those words don't go together.
No.
But the Marlon Wayans plays Isaiah White, a legendary 8-time championship quarterback, which means in this universe he's won more rings than Tom Brady.
Impressive.
I know. So that's interesting. This looks neat. Looks interesting.
I mean, it's Jordan Peele, so it'll be good.
Yeah, he is involved.
He hasn't really made anything bad yet.
He is involved as a producer. I'm not sure what point he came on board, but his name is on it, which is how they're choosing to sell this. How old is Marlon Wayans? He is 52. That is 12 years too old to be a quarterback.
Yeah, he has 8 championships, so
that's
you
true.
Clearly,
I guess if you got like devil powers or whatever, you can probably play till you're like 100.
Yeah, if you're a sorcerer, you can do whatever. Alrighty, what is up with weapons? I assume this is not about the DC character Arsenal, who is a very angry clone of Speedy, who is Green Arrow's sometimes assistant.
Is an Arsenal a clone of Speedy?
That's what I said.
Yeah, so is there another character who's a clone of Arsenal named Weapons?
No. I'm just saying there are many weapons in his arsenal.
Oh, that was convoluted and didn't even make sense.
No, I know it didn't, but I just thought I'd mention that.
Have you been on Twitter recently?
Yeah.
I
haven't seen anything about weapons.
Have you not seen the viral marketing for this?
No.
It's kind of cool. So there's been a couple of posts this past week. This is the new horror film from Zach Kreger, who wrote and directed Barbarian. This is a follow-up over at New Line. This is coming out in August. It's this wholly new
weapons movie.
Horror, what is being described as a saga. It stars Josh Brolin and Julie Garner. There's been a series of posts on social media this past week that have been starting this viral marketing campaign for the movie. And then there was also this little 50-second teaser, which doesn't really show a whole lot of footage. None of the characters are on screen. But the basic premise of the movie, or at least what they're telling us, is that the movie follows a small Florida town that in the middle of the night, all of the kids in this second grade class, or it might be third grade, all get up at 2:42 in the morning and just walk out of their homes and disappear, except for one of the kids. And the viral marketing campaign, what they've been putting out is all of these like screenshots of security cameras of the homes and all of the kids in black and white running out into the night. It looks really
all like
creepy.
Ring camera footage.
The way it's the way that the kids are running that is just super
with their arms
off-putting. Out. Where they're like half skipping with their arms out like they're playing airplane.
Yeah, very creepy.
But that is all they've put out so far. The teaser has a little bit of voiceover from what I think is Josh Brolin's character. But also stars Alden Ehrenreich from Solo and Benedict Wong, who is Wong in Marvel stuff. So great cast. Barbarian is super, super good and unlike anything else you will watch. So I am very, very much looking forward to this. This sounds like Barbarian in that the premise alone is enough to sell you, but then it's probably going to go in an insane direction. Which is, I think, like, I was kind of thinking about this with Sinners, which we saw this weekend. And the trailers for that movie give major spoiler, especially the second trailer for that movie, gives away like major plot points for the movie that if you want to go in like without having anything ruined would kind of ruin.
Yeah, I did not watch the trailers. So I was not aware of whatever the plot twists were that they spoiled.
But and obviously there's this constant ongoing discussion about movie trailers that has been going on for like 20 years at this point, that they give too much away, they show it too much, that they need to stop doing them or change the way that they've been. And honestly, I think Barbarian...
I think if your movie has obvious spoilers, you need to not spoil it in the trailer. I feel like that should be obvious.
I generally agree with that. I get where they're coming from, and that is, if your whole movie is like riding on this premise, and then if you hide that premise, you can't inform people what the movie is to get them to go and see it. Like that there is obviously a conflict there. What Barbarian did, and what I think this movie is doing, is actually a really, really smart model, which is you find a hook that sounds interesting enough to sell the movie on, but then you kind of hide all of the crazy stuff behind that premise.
Like, right. All the kids have gone missing. Why? Like, what's going on? It makes you want to know.
But that's interesting enough to sell it. With Barbarian, and this is spoilers for Barbarian, so if you haven't checked it out, skip to the next trailer, I guess. But do you care if I spoil it for you?
I mean, I'm probably going to watch it eventually, so I don't really want it spoiled.
Okay. Well, Barbarian has this whole other, like, 2/3 of the movie that goes completely off the walls in a way you wouldn't even expect. But if you just watch the trailer for that movie, you think it's about a woman who stays in a creepy Airbnb with a random guy. Like, you think that's what it's about, and then it goes in a completely different direction. So I think it's the way that we gotta, like, especially with these horror movies, which are so reliant on like big surprises or like weird monster designs and stuff like that, I think you have to find a way to sell the movie based on like one idea and then hook the rest of it behind. Nosferatu also did really well selling that movie. Yeah, they sold it very much on atmosphere, and they didn't even show you Nosferatu in any of the marketing. So like I think that also worked for them. I think it's all about strategy. I just thought that was interesting talking about this movie. And then also Sinners, both of which are from Warner Brothers. Interesting. Yeah,
and both very good vampire-y movies.
But anyway, there was also a trailer for this week for a movie called The Roses. This is from Jay Roach, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. This is a remake of The War of the Roses, which is a book and was made into a movie in, I believe, the early 90s. 1989. That movie was directed by Danny DeVito, who was also in that movie.
Oh.
This one he is not in.
I didn't know he directed movies.
This one has, in addition to Cumberbatch and Coleman, Andy Samberg, Allison Janney, Ncuti Gatwa, Zoe Chow, and Kate McKinnon.
Right.
This is about a couple who goes through a
divorce, Doctor Who's in it.
Basically. Yeah, that's Ncuti Gatwa.
Right.
It's a low-budget drama film from Searchlight. I wrote it down not expecting to talk about it because Sam probably doesn't care all that much. And why?
I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch, Andy Samberg. He's in that one movie with the time loop. That one's funny.
He's making a more serious movie.
Yeah.
Has he ever done this?
All right, before? 28 years later.
Yeah, there was a second trailer for this.
Not as good as the anything else?
Trailer. This one has a little bit of the plot in it, like a little bit of the premise, where it's Aaron Taylor Johnson's character is taking his son to the mainland from this like secure island as like a.
So it's like the opposite of the sequel to, it's like the opposite of A Quiet Place.
Yeah, this is like a coming of age ritual for them, and then while they're there, they encounter the zombies, which have evolved, and then also seemingly a weird cult, which is apparently going to be run by Jack O'Connell's character, who just played the villain in Sinners. Talk about that movie once again. So he's also the villain in this horror movie.
Which also had a weird cult in it.
Which also had a kind of a weird cultish element. I'm very much looking forward to this. This is Alex Garland's second movie of this year that he wrote. He also did Warfare, which was a completely different thing than this is going to be, which was also very good. Really good track record. They're obviously reteaming from 28 Days Later, which was like 20 years ago. I think this will do relatively well. The budget on this is reportedly insanely high for a horror movie. This is like a $75 million zombie movie.
I mean, it looks expensive.
But it looks expensive. They shot parts of it on an iPhone. I guess just for fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not the whole thing. Apparently just certain sequences.
Much of it was shot on the iPhone 15 Pro.
Yes. The iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Yes.
Is that even the most...
Although they have the same... They have the same kit. Well, it was the most recent iPhone when they were shooting the movie.
Okay. Are they on this? What are they on now?
16 Pro Max would be the best one you could get now.
There's a 16e?
The 16e is the replacement for the SE. They changed that line out with the E line.
So iPhone 16e. So there's the iPhone 16.
Yeah, so it has like an iPhone...
Hang on, let me figure this out. So there's the iPhone 16, the iPhone 16 Plus, the iPhone 16 Pro, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and the iPhone 16e.
Yes, many iPhone 16s.
This is so simple and intuitive.
All of which were made for Apple Intelligence, which has, for the most part, not been released yet.
It's not even out? Isn't it just Siri?
All of the parts except for the part that is Siri is out.
Okay, so what is it? When it's finished, what will it even do?
It will be like, so if you are sent a picture of an invitation to a party, you could be like, hey Siri, whatever, take me to the party that Chuck sent me an invite to this, last week. And it'll go through your phone, it'll figure out who Chuck is, it'll figure out what the invitation is, it'll scan the invitation, it'll find the address on the invitation, it'll add it to your calendar, it'll take you there whenever it's ready. All that stuff.
And this is presumably supposed to be a replacement for just opening the invite and reading the address.
Yes.
And this will be faster than that, correct?
That's the idea, yes.
Right. And this is the bold new feature that they're charging like $1,500 for.
Well, they're not charging you for it if you already have it. If you already have the phone, but it's not out yet.
So what does the new one do in comparison to the old one?
So the numbers one bigger.
Remember when they would have like substantive changes every time?
Yeah, but then technology kind of.
It'd be like we're adding a second camera, or we're making the screen bigger, or we're getting rid of the headphone jack. Remember when that was a controversy? Remember when everyone was
that's still kind of lame.
Headphone jack in your phone. Now we're just.
It sucks because that was like everyone had. Wireless headphones were not the main headphone at the time.
No, but it did kind of force everyone to start using wireless headphones.
Yeah.
So in a way, it worked. And you still could get ear pods for a while, and they just phased those out. Anyway, this is the iPhone talk. There's another trailer for The Life of Chuck. Looks good. That movie's going to bomb real hard because you can't explain what the premise is without ruining it. But everyone, when that comes out, go watch it because it's going to be incredible. There was another... You have stuff to say about this, I'm guessing. There was the main trailer for the Fantastic Four First Steps this week. We got numerous little tidbits. Biggest thing for me was we saw Mr. Fantastic using his powers for the first time to do.
Did you see that one guy on Twitter complaining that it was CGI? It's like, bro, what did you...
I think they should.
Did you want him to actually? He can't do that, right?
Well,
like he's a human man.
To maybe explain what this guy meant, this man who's silly. I guess he wants them to make like a real practical like limbs to like
a stretchy suit, like a Stretch Armstrong suit that goes around him.
I guess what he would want is to like. Yeah, something like that, where like they would have some sort of hand extender. I don't know what he would do. Obviously, it's going to be CG.
Yeah,
that goes without saying. He only does a little bit of stretching in this trailer. We still haven't seen anything kind of out there. No giant arms, no turning himself into a kite or whatever he does in the comic books all the time. He's not making himself into a big rubber ball and bouncing around, which I would like to see in the film. I would like to see Mr. Fantastic do something other than make his punch go really far. But that'll probably be the extent to what he uses his powers for. We got confirmation that
some people were very upset about the Silver Surfer.
Yes, it's
which I think we already knew about.
Yes, we did. It's Julia Garner is playing the Silver Surfer, and she's playing the. And let me make sure I get this right because she is from the comics.
Yes. Okay. There is some.
She's playing the Shala Bal. I don't know how to pronounce that. Silver Surfer.
Yes. So there is some explaining to do with this new Silver Surfer. A lot of people were upset that they turned Silver Surfer into a girl. There is a girl Silver Surfer in the comics, and she is a different character with, as far as I understand it, a different like backstory and different like lore and stuff going on. She is not the same as the Herald of Galactus Silver Surfer, but
she will be the Herald of Galactus in this.
She is the Herald of Galactus Silver Surfer in this one, so saying, oh, she's from the comics, it's not that. I mean, yeah, okay, it is. They definitely just switched the other one, but also, who cares? Silver Surfer doesn't really have much of a personality. It doesn't really matter what he looks like.
I will say, I mean, this is also an alternate timeline than the main MCU timeline.
As well, yeah.
So we could see, probably maybe not in this, but we could see at some points the OG
a male Silver Surfer showing up.
My guess is that he will be in this in some sort of flashback, and he will have died, and she will. And
he'll die or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I heard a theory that the main reason they did this is to give the Human Torch a love interest. And honestly,
I mean, I guess
that kind of makes sense to me. You can kind of put the pieces together, like the original Silver Surfer.
Does he need a love interest?
Okay, well, here, think about this, right? So, new Silver Surfer is the old lover of old Silver Surfer, who was the dude version, but then he dies, and she takes over. And she comes to Earth to be like, Galactus is gonna eat Earth. But then she's like, ooh, Johnny Storm, you're cute. And then they have a little thing. But then when Galactus blows up the planet, he's like, oh no.
She gets real sad.
Yeah, then they have to like fight or something. And then their planet blows up and he's sad. And then everyone's sad and they all go home. Or not home, their home's blown up. They go to the MCU.
Sure. Maybe.
That's my theory.
Yeah, yes.
But we also got Galactus stomping through the city.
Yeah, okay.
So he's
Galactus
gonna be
is
a
like
big
too
man.
Small.
Confirmation he's gonna be a big man. Not a big head, like a big.
He's too small.
I think he's gonna expand and shrink. I think he'll change sizes. I don't think he'll be just that.
You think he'll get bigger?
Because his head is really big.
Also, okay, is he attacking at the beginning of the movie? Like, why they showed us a lot more Galactus than I was expecting.
I think he'll be in it. I think he will eat Earth.
This is making me think that there's another villain and that he's not the main villain.
I think he's definitely the main villain. I think it's gonna be like a Silver Surfer. We deal with Silver Surfer for the first.
So it's the same as the other Galactic, the other
Silver Surfer movie. I would think so. Very much so structurally. The main difference here is that Galactus will be a guy with a voice and a head instead of a big cloud, and he will physically
makes him a little bit more intimidating
on the planet eating it, or he'll at least be there in a larger presence than Cloud slowly swallows Earth. So I think it'll be more like that. I do expect Doom to show up for like a second at some point. Because this is the last movie before Doomsday, it would be
at the very least in a post-credits scene.
Irresponsible for him to not at least make like an appearance. But other than that, we got confirmation that Sue Storm is going to be pregnant with
which I think again we already knew.
Either Franklin Richards or both their children. I think it's going to be both. I think they'll probably just make them twins. Franklin Richards
twins and
is a mutant with
have superpowers.
Franklin Richards is a mutant with world-altering superpowers, and then their other kid has
he can straight up like do reality warping stuff.
Yeah, which I think is going to be a big part of Secret Wars. By the way, did you see that?
Yeah, maybe.
Did you see that rumor this week that they're prepping the Deadpool and Wolverine set to be used again?
Which one?
Presumably the Void.
I mean, that makes sense.
Which someone said they're gonna make Battleworld the Void, and I was like, yeah,
It already kind of is.
that might be a thing.
I mean, it. Okay, literally, what is the difference between the Void and Battleworld? There's no difference.
Well, I mean,
they're the same.
There's
thing.
like the literal difference, which is that one is that Doom made Battleworld, and the Void is just the Void.
Okay, we can just say Doom made the Void. We still don't even really know what the Void is.
The little kingdom in the Void. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's all nonsense.
He'll take over the. Oh, he'll take over the Void.
Yeah, I think that's maybe likely.
The Kangs will be living there, and he'll just show up.
Why do you he's got to kill them there all? Will be Kangs?
Because we got to do the scene where he kills them all so that we can be like, he's the real threat.
Do you think it'll be off screen or we just don't show their faces?
It doesn't really matter. The point is either it'll be said or we will see him show up and they'll all have masks on and he'll just kill them all.
Okay, I'm scrubbing through this trailer. We got a lot of them in their suits. We got a little more Herbie.
I like their suits. Their suits look cool. They look very Fantastic Four.
They look very warm.
Ben Grimm they look like cozy sweat. Like I want one of those.
So it looks like what I would guess is the opening of the movie is that they're going to be on this talk show explaining their origin.
Yeah, that way the audience knows what's going on.
Catch them up, which they've said this is an origin story, which I believe, but I do think they're still going to show us large portions of it. I think
they'll still explain what's going on.
I think what's going to be revealed. Because there's a little clip in this where it's like Mr. Fantastic, before he's Mr. Fantastic, it's like, why do you want to go to space? And he's like, just to explore and find out what's going on. I think there will be a reveal that somehow when they go into space to get their powers...
Oh, their powers definitely came from Galactus.
That they either come from Galactus, but they also alert Galactus to Earth.
Yeah, their powers definitely come from Galactus. And that'll be
like a big third act.
That's just easier for the audience to understand.
That'll be a big third act reveal is like, oh, we thought we were exploring the universe and trying to make things better, but we actually killed everyone.
We made it more dangerous, and now it's not as safe now.
And then they'll spend all of Doomsday and Secret Wars being like, what have I done? It'll be that. Because that's movies 101. Right. Anyway, any other thoughts?
We do have the ultimate nullifier.
Is that a real thing?
Because yes, that's how they beat Galactus the first time he showed up.
Okay, well, I don't think that's gonna be in this.
Well, he's got it. He's holding it.
Where?
When he stretches, he's got a big antenna in his hand.
You think that's the ultimate nullifier?
If it's not named that, it does the same thing.
Kind of just looks like a pole.
Yeah, but everything looks like a techie pole.
Okay, here's something interesting. Maybe they've just edited the trailer, but it looks like the big third act battle, Sue Storm is not pregnant.
I think she's like very recently pregnant. I don't think she's going to be like showing that she's pregnant.
Because they released a clip, like a 2-second clip on Twitter of them announcing, of her telling Johnny Storm she's pregnant.
Yeah, so, but like I think this whole movie happens in the course of like a week.
See, my thought process
I don't think the
is
time
maybe
frame we're
this
working
takes
with
place over a larger portion of time.
Maybe a month, because we see her building the crib room, so like maybe a couple weeks or a month-ish.
I'm just wondering if their kid could be born in this movie.
No.
Or do you think that'll happen
again? Maybe as a post-credit scene.
Because we know from that. That leaked concept art for Doomsday that the kids will be in that, and that makes sense. They're a decent part of the story for Secret Wars.
Unless they're CGIing her to be unpregnant.
Which I do think they were doing in some shots, but we know she's going to be pregnant in it. So
actually, I don't... Unless all of this Galactus stuff is like all in Act 1...
That's what I was going to ask, is do you think it's like a misdirection?
I think that it could be, and we could have Doom be the actual villain of the movie.
What if the first act is Galactus, and then they defeat Galactus? And then
because then we can have
a whole new
we can time skip a year. Franklin Richards and other Richards is a baby.
Right.
Because Because I don't think Sue Storm will be showing pregnant in the movie, because I think they'll want to have the silhouette for the action figures. So I don't think she'll actually be,
because we have a couple
visibly
people.
pregnant.
Paul Walter Hauser is in this. We don't know who he's playing. John Malkovich is in this, and we don't know who he's playing. And Natasha Lyonne is in this, and we don't know who she is playing.
Is Robert Downey Jr. in it?
It's not confirmed. I don't know if it would be Doom, but it would be weird to me to have, like, I'm not, in the way that they're setting this up, or the way that the trailers are putting it, this is a pretty straightforward thing where it's just the Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer, and Galactus. John Malkovich is too big of an actor and too interesting of an actor to be one of those MCU roles where they just show up for one scene and play a nothing character and then leave.
Yeah, he's a guy you'd want to use for something cool.
My thought process is, like, if this movie does have a secret half, it would have to involve him and the other people who have cast, but we don't know who they're playing yet.
And this is the last movie before Avengers.
This is the last movie before Avengers. The only other stuff between this and Doomsday will be some TV stuff, and none of that's big. It's like Wonder Man and Daredevil season 2.
Ironheart, which isn't real.
Ironheart will be between Thunderbolts and this. So it's only a few, like, tiny little TV things. But this is the last movie. This is going to be their biggest movie of the year. Hopefully. I would pretty much say it's a lock to make more than Captain America.
And yeah, they started production in 2023. So that was
post.
They knew full well. Yes, this has been fully developed in a post-Kang idea universe.
Not fully developed, because they've been writing the script 18 different times over the course of 10 years.
They totally didn't just rewrite it.
But they definitely rewrote it.
I'm saying this is the first one.
No, they shot this after that decision was made. So this will be the version of this that sets that up.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
There will be something. Yeah. I do expect him to appear, even if it's just a voice thing. And he doesn't show up.
Because I don't... And, like, because of how Galactus looks... And we know they're doing the more comic booky, the more, like, kind of hokey, goofy looking version of Galactus.
Yeah, big man.
I don't know if he can be scary for a whole movie.
I think the conundrum you would run into is this is the first time we're in this world. This, like, retro-futuristic 60s MCU universe. So the threat of this world's going to get eaten, but we've spent almost no time in this world. They might run into some problem selling that.
But, yeah, that's true. But I think as an inciting incident, establishing who these guys are as, like, basically the Avengers of this world, I think that would be a good way to establish that.
Do you think that would make people upset? If they've been promised Galactus and then they get just a little bit of Galactus and he's defeated?
I mean, I think it'll be substantial. I think it'll be a good 30, 40 minutes of Galactus.
Because the question in everyone's mind is, we all expect their universe to be blown up at the end of this, right?
Right.
If it's not Galactus, what blows up their world?
Well, Dr. Doom does.
Because
he's Doom Doctor.
But how
the Doctor of
Why
Doom.
is he doing that? I guess we would figure that out in Doomsday.
Well, he has his Doom device, and it causes doom. And his Doom device goes off and dooms everyone.
I am interested in this. Kinda. I have my doubts. Again, 6 credited screenwriters. Never a good sign, ever in anything. I still have questions about some of the casting. Specifically Joseph Quinn and Pedro Pascal. I'm still not sold on either of them.
They both looked the part.
To a certain extent. I don't know. And then Matt Shakman has made a lot of TV that I very much enjoy. This is the second feature he's ever made. And the only other feature he's directed is like this tiny little indie drama from like a decade and a half ago. So I have questions about the director. I have questions about these scripts. I have questions about the direction of this whole story arc, and I have questions about 2 of the major casting decisions. So we'll see what happens. I like the idea. I like the world they've made. I like the the 60s concept with this. I think that's a really smart choice for taking this in a different direction.
Yeah, and he did WandaVision, so like he does timey-wimey playing around with that stuff.
Which the problem with WandaVision was not the direction at all, so that's promising.
It was the story they were stuck with.
It was the story.
But he did some of The Boys. He's
directed a lot of great TV.
He did some It's Always Sunny.
Thrones, a lot of Sunny episodes. He's made a lot of TV that I very much like.
Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, which no one has seen, so maybe that's good. Maybe that's bad.
No one knows. So I have doubts about that, but I am cautiously optimistic about this. We'll see how it performs. Again, it comes 2 weeks after Superman. I'm surprised neither of those movies moved, but they are locked in for those dates, so they're going to go head-to-head with each other. We'll see if that sucks all the air out of the room and kind of leaves Fantastic Four with not a whole lot, or if the opposite happens. There's also Jurassic in July, and Smurfs in July, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, which those are obviously smaller, but Smurfs specifically has got that family audience that all the other movies
Smurfs is gonna flop tremendously.
I think it's probably gonna flop, but hey,
everybody
it's an
hates
IP, and
Smurfs.
kids movies some of them just do well. Dogman just did well. Some of these movies they just have audiences, and
but Dogman had like a good art direction, and it was interesting to look at.
They're trying to rip off Spider-Verse for the new Smurfs.
Is visual blech. Just blech.
So we'll see.
Nothing cool.
I don't know.
The script looks really bad. It's half live action, and those never do well.
Sam, I have a question for you. So out of Doomsday, Secret Wars, Spider-Man 4, which one are we on? 4? Fantastic Four, and Thunderbolts. How would you rank them in terms of anticipation?
Anticipation?
Like which most interested to least interested?
Most interested, probably number 1 would be Spider-Man 4. Mm-hmm. Just because that story still has a lot of interesting places it could go.
I think out of all of the Marvel MCU universe, Spider-Man has the most gas left in the tank in terms of like story.
Yeah, well, and they left the story off in a really interesting place. So like, I want to know where that goes. I would say after that, Avengers, Doomsday, and those are the same movie, so I'm gonna lump those in together.
And you would put those at 2.
That'd probably be after Spider-Man. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's the next Avengers. That's the big thing. I want to see the big thing.
From the directors of The Electric State.
I like the big thing. I like seeing the big thing happen. I don't see Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. I'm about equally excited. I think Thunderbolts I'm excited for a little more. I like the creative team behind Thunderbolts more.
So this is last place. I mean, you do famously.
I still want to see this one. I'm still excited to see this one.
You have famously in the past voiced a strong dislike of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four have always been my least favorite superhero team. Just because, on base level, their powers are like the least interesting. We have the Invisible Woman. Guess what she does?
The Guardians of the Galaxy.
Anyone can be on the Guardians of the Galaxy. And they have like weird powers.
But they mostly just have like guys with guns and knives.
Yeah, but that's fine because they're up against stronger guys, and so that becomes the interesting part of that. So like, and then you have Groot, he's always fun. Rocket's fun. Yondu has his cool little arrow.
You got more
cool guys.
You got varied personalities. It's more of an eclectic group.
With the Fantastic Four, their personalities are kind of bland.
A little bit.
Tell me one thing about Johnny Storm. Any character trait that he has.
He's a hothead. Literally.
Well, okay, yes.
Figuratively.
Yeah. So not Fantastic, Mr. Fantastic. Well, he's smart.
He's very
smart.
What else?
Well, he's really smart.
He's a little mean.
Sue Storm. Well, she likes Mr. Fantastic. What else? Well, she's blonde. Okay, cool. Good to know.
She's a lady.
Ben Grimm is the only one.
He's sad.
That has some interesting stuff going on. He's sad.
To kill himself.
He wants to be not a rock creature anymore.
Yep.
So that's at least interesting because that at least his powers have like a cost to them, which makes him a more interesting character. Inherently.
Other than like the Invisible Woman, whose just powers make her objectively better.
Yeah, like
life.
everyone else's powers are just an objective, strict upgrade. Like Mr. Fantastic, I guess, is a little off-putting, but he doesn't really care because he's like socially inept, so it doesn't really matter.
Like he could just look.
Yeah,
like
he
a
doesn't
normal
have to
man.
do it. Plus, I'm sure Sue is enjoying that. But no,
Sam.
They've always been the least interesting superhero team to me. Like when I think Justice League, Avengers, even like Teen Titans, I think is a more interesting team to me than the Fantastic Four. I mean, I am excited for this movie. I think this movie looks really cool. I'm excited to see what they do with the Fantastic Four. I'm excited to, but more than anything, I'm excited to see how they make these characters interesting, because to me, they are not that interesting.
I do agree with you that I am more interested in Thunderbolts, though. I think that
Thunderbolts has a lot more interesting
potential.
creative direction.
I think Thunderbolts has a higher ceiling and probably a lower floor. Like, it could be awful, but I feel like it could also be like, oh, this is a giant surprise. Like, I feel like it could
be
do both.
One of the worst Marvel movies ever, or it will be like right up there with Winter Soldier. I think it's going to be one of the two.
Which means it's probably just going to be mid.
It might just. I don't think it'll be mid, because like even the trailers we've seen, they cooked something.
They tried.
Like the scene where Yelena Belova does like a fake out suicide joke. For a Marvel movie, that's crazy.
True.
In a non-Deadpool Marvel movie, that's insane.
Spider-Man, I'm just like, sure, more Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, I'm the most interested to see where that story goes, because we left it off in a really interesting place, and I want to see how they resolve that.
And then the Avengers movies, I don't see a world where either of those are good. Like, just
it probably won't be that good.
The stars that would have to align and the lightning that would have to strike to make that like even a 7 out of 10 movie.
But that's part of why they're up there for me, because like,
you're right.
How does that work?
On like this has the potential to be just one of the weirdest like cluster disasters in cinematic history. That I am 100% interested in. Like, this could be the biggest train wreck we've ever seen, and it'd just be like a thing we need to study, like a Borderlands situation.
Imagine if it works.
Then that
would be crazy.
Same. It'll be like, how on earth did they pull this off? They're not gonna pull that off.
Either way,
they're not
it's
capable
gonna be
of
crazy.
Pulling that off. We've learned that they can't even pull off good concepts just on their own with no oversight and unlimited money before. But maybe they'll pull it off. Maybe the crunch will get them. Maybe making the entire movie in 11 months.
Kevin will lock in. Maybe the reason why all the other movies have been lower quality is because he's been so locked in.
Yeah, maybe. He's just been in the room demanding that they come up with storylines for Kang Dynasty.
He's been staring at that poster of Hugh Jackman Wolverine, Iron Man, and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And he's just been fully using 100% of his body's capacity to create this reality where that film exists.
In the process, accidentally let Miss Marvel and She-Hulk get made.
Yeah, those slipped through the cracks.
All right, let's move on from these trailers. We have a bunch of little pieces of news. I'm just gonna read some stuff off. Let me know if you're interested in any of it. Jesse Eisenberg's next directorial effort's gonna be a musical for A24.
What did he direct?
He just did A Real Pain, which won Kieran Culkin an Oscar. It was quite good.
Okay.
Sam Neill is going to be in the next MonsterVerse Godzilla Kong movie.
But I did want to say his movie is just about Jared Leto, but a girl Jared Leto.
What are you referring to?
Jesse Eisenberg's musical movie. This is just about girl Jared Leto.
Did you read the concept?
Yes.
Would you want to explain what you mean by that to the people who don't
it's about a woman who loses herself completely in a role she's playing for a community theater. Which, for those of you who don't know, Jared Leto is known for fully method acting and going like basically completely bonkers anytime he plays any character. For example, when he played Morbius, he actually acted as if he was disabled for the entire time that film was in production, even having staff carry him in and out of the bathroom. So, and also when he was playing the Joker, he mailed people like a bunch of used condoms and like dead rats and like other stuff that he just, I guess, thought the Joker would do, but I don't think the Joker had ever done that.
I had forgotten about the Morbius story about him pretending to be disabled. I had forgotten.
Yes, and then forcing aides to help him use the bathroom even though he was, again, not disabled.
Dude, imagine you like start working for whatever agency is in charge of him, and you're like a new assistant, and they're like, you're going to assist.
Yeah, you're on Jared Leto
You're going to
poop
assist one of our
duty.
top talents, and you're like, oh my gosh, who is it? They're like Jared Leto, and then you show up, and he's like, all right, I need you to wipe my butt for me.
My name is Dr. Michael Morbius, and I need you to wipe my butt. Like, what?
Anyway,
All right,
what do you think he did for Tron? He's the lead of the new Tron.
I think I don't know. I don't know anything about this character yet.
Gaming all day? You think he was
probably?
Just, like, out there
well, he does.
Tron?
Well, I don't know. He lives on his like cult island, so I don't know. Does he have a computer?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they can send him like an NES with Tron the arcade game on it.
I don't know if that game kind of sucks.
But like,
anyway,
he's got to get into Tron to get into character.
Yeah, he's got to learn what's
As
going on with
a man
Tron.
from the game Tron.
Maybe he just only walked in like right angles.
Leica's next movie, Wildwood, from director Travis Knight, has been delayed a year.
Pictures of this. This looks really cool.
Yeah, a couple images have come out. It doesn't have distribution yet.
Well, that makes sense because these movies make no money.
Leica hasn't put a movie out in a while, I don't think.
The last one was the Bigfoot one. I don't remember what it was called.
Missing Link?
Missing Link, yeah. So, that's the last one I remember. They may have made another one in between, but that's the last one I remember coming out.
Maybe they did.
It was a while ago.
But
it takes, I think, 6 or 7 years on average to make these.
It's
so
all
that
stop
makes
motion.
that makes sense.
You're right. That was the last movie they made. That was 7. That was 6 years ago. It'll be 7 by the time this comes out.
Yeah. That lines right up with what it usually takes for them to make a movie.
That was a big disappointment for them. Their movies tend to not make a lot of money.
Ubo and the Two Strings is still my favorite. I don't really like their horror ones that much. Good.
The reason they are able to continue to be in business is that the Travis Knight, who founded the company, his dad is Phil Knight, who owns Nike.
His dad owns Nike.
So that's where they get all of their money from.
Yeah, they just fund this as a fun little thing, which I'm fine with that. You know, I think more billionaires should fund.
If you're gonna be a billionaire,
things.
at least like while you're ruining the environment and people's lives,
make some cool art while you're at it. Yeah,
make Kubo and the Two Strings if you're gonna at least.
That's cool.
Legendary.
I feel like everyone should see that movie because there are other ones I don't really like so much. I don't really care so much, but like I think that one is good enough that it's worth seeing just for the animation style, just so you can get an idea of like what this is.
People love Coraline. Not a fan.
Coraline is everyone's favorite. I still haven't seen it though.
Not great.
And then they made Paranorman, which I've heard is good and also haven't seen.
Coraline, based on a Neil Gaiman book, who is a big crook, sucks in real life, horrible man.
Well, I know nothing about that guy.
Trolls was scary.
Box Trolls I hate. That movie is awful. That movie, I forgot. I erased that one. I noticed how I said all the things and I didn't even mention that because I forgot. That movie's so bad. That movie is so bad.
Kubo, very good.
From even conceptually, just abysmal. Why on earth would you make that? Anyway.
Okay, next thing, Glenn Powell is going to star in and co-write a new comedy with Judd Apatow, who will direct it. It's about a country western star in Free Fall. I'm not sure what that means, but apparently it's being...
Not the song Free Falling. Different thing.
Probably like his life is falling apart. He's doing crazy things thing. And then this is being produced by Universal, who's fast-tracking it. No word on whether this is going to be theatrical or not. My guess is that Glenn Powell is gonna make it theatrical if he's got that kind of cachet at this point. I would think he would.
Yeah.
Although Hitman did go straight to Netflix, which he also co-wrote with Linklater. So
yeah, whatever.
Maybe not. Judd Apatow, I would consider myself a fan, although he has not made anything good recently.
What did he make?
He did 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up, and This Is 40, and that whole kind of generation. He was involved with Freaks and Geeks, big part of getting that made.
I don't think I've seen any of those things. I've seen none of those.
Pineapple Express he was a producer on. He was kind of in that group with like Seth Rogen and
okay.
Yeah, that whole gang that like came up in the early 2000s with all those
like early 2000s comedy group guys. Yeah.
And then he's kind of, I would say, fallen off in recent years. He did the King of Staten Island, the Pete Davidson movie, which was obviously like right when COVID came out, so it kind of just fell out of the public eye. And then The Bubble, which was a Netflix movie about COVID, which was on all accounts unwatchable and awful. So
Oh, good, good.
I
That's
don't
a good
know.
sign.
Glenn Powell, I would say he tends to pick good stuff,
He's
but
made
anyone
some.
but you is
He's
terrible.
been on a roll. He's
Of
been on a roll
sorts.
of
In
roles.
terms of success, he's been on a roll. Twisters,
Yes, in terms of
Top Gun,
quality, a little more
anyone but
iffy.
you. Hitman, great. Liked that one a lot. Pick some good stuff, pick
Haven't
some
seen
not
that
very
one.
good stuff. It's on Netflix. You should check it.
Alrighty, what's up with Prime Video? What are they doing? Pacific
Oh,
Rim.
Legendary Pictures
This is
and
on here
Prime
twice.
Video are teaming up for it is?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. No, I just wrote it. I just read it out of order.
They are teaming up on a Pacific Rim prequel series, presumably live
Oh,
action.
that's lame. Who cares?
Do we
That
want
doesn't
more
even make any
Pacific
sense.
Rim? Does anyone care about Pacific
How would
Rim?
that work? Before, wait, hang on. Before Pacific Rim,
Correct.
the world was just normal. Like they didn't start building the robots until after they needed to because of the monsters.
Maybe it's that slow R&D development.
But that would have been during the movie. That wouldn't be a prequel.
Don't ask me to explain what that
That's a
means.
side quel. It's a parallel quel.
Listen, they did the first Pacific Rim.
Should we start calling spin-offs parallel quels?
That just sounds like a way unnecessary complication.
Alrighty. Anyway,
they made that first Pacific
Alicia.
Rim. No one cared.
Oh, we're talking about Pacific Rim.
Yeah, well, they made that first one. It was like iffy on whether or not it was a success or not. And then they did a sequel that was like a giant bomb. And then I think they did an
because
anime.
they changed the tone of the movie entirely. I've not heard about the anime.
I think they did an anime, and then that's been it. I'm not really sure there's any demand at all for more of this, other than like IP people know, or some people know. Could this even work in television? It seems way too expensive to do as a TV show.
Well, if it's about the world pre-Pacific Rim, then yeah, it works just fine because it's just the regular army.
But then, like, who cares?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering the same thing.
Big robots and they punch the monster.
Maybe is it about the monster world pre-Pacific Rim?
But could you even make a movie about that?
Well, yeah, it's just Jurassic Park, but like with weird monsters instead of.
That sounds like a
dinosaurs.
Okay.
All right, Alicia Silverstone, Clueless.
I don't care about Clueless sequel series for Peacock. I'm Clueless.
That's great. Good for it. Peacock continues to just keep making just random things.
They're really
just a lot of random things.
Universal has all these like pretty big brands, like Jurassic, Fast and Furious, Minions, pretty like sizable, big, Wicked, big stuff, right? Yet their streaming service, even in TV, they got like The Office, but their streaming service is just riddled with crap. They don't produce
the most
any
random
original
grab
stuff
bag of
that's
nonsense.
remarkable at all. It's just a random grab bag of nonsense. None of it's particularly good. It all gets canceled after one 6-episode season.
You know what? I think Peacock just exists to annoy us. Like it exists in that space where it's big enough that a bunch of stuff that we want to watch is on there, but it's not good enough that it's worth subscribing to because there's nothing else.
Its UI is terrible. It's got the worst UI of all the major streamers. It's super cluttered and like weirdly organized. I don't know why it's better, especially since they have Comcast money, which they are like the only studio that's set. They don't have to worry about being profitable. They don't have to worry about any other movies.
They're the only one that doesn't have to worry about Disney eating.
Well, they have Daddy Comcast who can just feed them infinite money for eternity because it owns the internet. So they don't have to worry about anything. So like I don't know why they haven't invested in making their streaming service better, and it's still got a stupid.
Because at least Apple TV Plus I put very much in the same boat where it's just like it's basically a trust fund baby of a streaming service where it's just funded by the infinite resources of its daddy company. But like Apple will at least invest in original programming. Like they have a bunch of original high quality series. Well, even Amazon Prime, they do the same thing and they just buy up a bunch of really high quality IP products and they kind of do the opposite of what Apple's doing. But they're both doing something.
Yeah, Apple
Peacock is doing nothing.
Yeah, Apple you can at least see like a brand, right? They're like, we're going to make
Yeah.
A few drama shows that are super high budget but super high quality with these big stars, right? We're gonna get John Hamm, we're gonna get Ben Stiller to direct one, we're gonna get Colin Farrell, whoever, right, to make all these shows for us. Peacock is just like Anthony Mackie's of the Twisted
Sylvester
Metal
Stallone?
show. Yeah.
So a bunch of infinite Sylvester Stallone content? Do you want this? Have you ever wanted this?
Is that Peacock? What are you looking at?
Yeah, I think I Am Rocky is on there.
Anyway, they have one.
And he also has a King of Tulsa.
That's on Paramount.
That's the same thing.
What was I saying? Poker Face on Peacock is their only good show. That's the only thing they make that's good. You should watch that. Everything else on there is.
I'm not gonna do that.
They're taking forever on that The Office spinoff. I don't know why they're taking so long.
It's not gonna happen. I mean, they're gonna make 50 of them, but by the time they do, no one's gonna care.
They've been doing it. They're working on it. I don't know why it's taking forever. It's a sitcom. Anyway.
All right. What is? I don't care about.
Amazon's gonna make the Highlander remake. Zoe Kravitz is gonna direct another movie.
There can be only one, right? That's what that movie's from. That's
Keanu
what
Reeves is gonna play the villain in a Weezer film.
Oh yeah.
I'll just let that one sit.
Yeah. Why? What's up with that? What's going on?
Do people
what does
care
that mean?
about Weezer anymore?
What are we talking about?
When's the last time people have listened to Weezer? 2004?
What are we talking about? What are we talking about with Weezer? What are we talking about? No one cares about Weezer.
How did they get a movie made?
I don't know.
I mean, I can see how they got Keanu involved. He probably likes Weezer, but like,
yeah,
it's odd. Odd announcement.
Yeah, I don't care about that. That's very strange.
Okay, the Oscars are introducing. That members must watch every nominee in a category before they vote for a winner. By the way, just to clarify, we are on the 98th Academy Awards.
Innovation. It only took us 100 years for them to go, hey, wait a minute. What if we made them watch the movies? Have we considered watching the movie? Have we thought about that?
For the first
time?
Did
we think about that?
So how it's going to work is that the Academy portal, which everyone in the Academy has access to, which is like their little streaming service that's got all the nominees on it, it'll track the ones you've watched, and so you have to watch them all on there to vote. Or if you see them in theaters or at a festival,
so wait a minute.
You have to send them evidence that you were there.
Does this apply to the actual judges, or is this just for the audience? Like just for the at-home people?
No. So the Academy who votes for the Academy Awards.
Okay.
Like they will have to watch. So if they want to vote for Best Documentary, they have to watch all the documentaries.
Gotcha.
So how it works is there's different branches of the Academy. So if you're an actor, you're in the actors branch, and you vote to pick the nominees. Just the actors vote. But then once there are the 5 nominees for the telecast awards, everyone in the Academy can vote no matter what branch they're in. So this is for that. So you have to watch all of the 5 nominated things in whatever category to vote, which should have been happening before. It's ridiculous that you can be in the Academy and not watch any of the movies and then vote for Best Picture.
Yeah, what's the point of that?
This is because it has been famous and people will just outright say this. They will just vote for their friends. If they have a friend that's a producer and produced a movie, they'll just vote for them to win whatever, and they won't even watch the thing they made. So hopefully this finally avoids that. It'll be interesting to see what happens to the lower categories that no one watches any of the nominees in, to see if anyone even votes in them anymore.
I think like one person will do it and then vote, and then that'll be the deciding one.
Yeah.
It'll be one guy.
Sam, there was a direct from Mario Kart World. Did anything of note happen in it?
So we did learn that Mario Kart World will function the same way that it has been advertised in the previous trailers.
Okay.
And we know that they will not, to our knowledge at this point, be releasing any DLC for the game. It will. So the $80 price tag is not justified by the inclusion of free DLC later down the line. And then there is going to be a secret series of stages unlocked once you have completed the main game, and that is probably Rainbow Road. Although they did not reveal what that was during the event.
Okay, and I am also aware that Nintendo raised the prices of all Switch 2 accessories this week.
Yes, so after the tariffs were announced on Liberation Day,
you feel liberated?
Yeah, very much so. Liberated from my bank account. Nintendo paused pre-orders, which were supposed to start April 4th, I believe, or April 5th, somewhere around there. And they said, all right, never mind. We got to rework this out because we got to figure out what the prices are going to be now. And so they did their math. They did announce the Switch and the games will not see price increases. The Switch will stay at $450. The bundle with Mario Kart will stay at $500. And Mario Kart and Donkey Kong will remain at $80 and $70. They did not say anything about future games, but if they're keeping those the same, I don't know why they would change other games, and the pricing for those probably isn't even existent yet. They did announce that across the board, all of the accessories that they have announced thus far will be getting a $10 price increase over their previously announced prices. So the Switch 2 webcam will be $80 instead of $70, or however much it is. The Joy-Cons will be $90 instead of $80. The Pro Controller will be $90 instead of $80, or whatever the pricing was. Basically, all of the accessories will be $10 more, but the core components, that being the Switch itself and the games, will remain the same price as announced on the announcement date.
All sounds great. Can't wait to lose all my money that I don't have in the first place.
Very cool. It's ice soup. Ice soup for the summer, boys.
Ice soup till December. No Christmas, just ice. Everyone's getting ice soup this year.
Just ice soup, and then snow soup if it starts
Tucker's
snowing
gotta
from
play
the sky.
Donkey Kong. Everyone gets ice soup for Christmas.
All right, but that brings us to our big news for today. Star Wars Celebration 2025 coming to you live from Japan. We were not there. This is not live. This is several days after the fact.
I'm in Japan.
But we got a slew of announcements. Almost all of them are announcements that sequels to stuff is getting made. We got 2 actual announcements of new things. And that's about it. So let's start off with the Mandalorian and Grogu.
So they played a trailer to attendees that leaked online that I did not
because
watch.
Of course it does, because it always does.
So you can probably find that if you look for it. There was word that they were going to put this out to the public. They didn't, because I think it's a little too early. I think we'll probably see this before Fantastic Four in July, I would guess, is when they're going to put this out.
That even still might be kind of early, because it's coming out next year, right?
It comes out in May of next year, so we're like over a year away right now. But they have put out trailers super early before, and I think they're going to try to get this to play in front of
especially for Star Wars.
possible.
I mean, it doesn't even really matter if you do trailers. It's Star Wars.
Although, this though, this could bomb. For being real,
it could bomb.
I think it's likely to bomb.
But Mandalorian still has a mostly positive fan perception.
True, but this is the test of how many people actually watched that
budget-wise, this one is going to be smaller than their last few movies. I agree with you.
I think this is going to be the smallest budgeted movie Disney has made with Star Wars.
Additionally, The Mandalorian is I would say performance-wise, this is going to do probably exactly the same as Solo. I don't think that's a crazy stretch.
Famous bomb.
Because Solo is a much more that was way over budget. Like Solo had a massive budget. I don't think this will have that big of a budget compared to Solo.
So Solo did $393 worldwide. That was off of a $330 million budget.
There's no way that Mandalorian and Grogu has a $300 million budget.
Gets like 150 budget.
Yeah. So if it does $300 million, that's
super low
fine.
for a Star Wars movie. 150. That would like probably be
But
profitable.
you got to keep in mind this is basically 3 episodes of Mandalorian, so that's like.
But that's the question: is like,
That's fine.
Are people gonna turn out in theaters to watch, basically like the series finale of this show, especially if they haven't seen the show? Why would they?
So here's my math. Here's my math there. One, there's gonna be a base amount of Star Wars fans who will just show up because it says Star Wars.
I agree with you.
I'm gonna say that's like
that many
that's like 30% of the audience for this movie is gonna be just people who just show up because Star Wars.
We know definitively how many of those people there are.
Yes,
because it's the people who watch The Acolyte.
Well, I'm saying no, because the movies have a much bigger base than the shows.
But you're talking like Star Wars fans, like hardcore Star Wars fans, which would be the people who have seen The Mandalorian.
I'm not just talking about hardcore Star Wars fans. I'm really not even talking about them at all. I'm talking about people who go, oh, I want to see a movie. Oh, Star Wars. I know a Star War. I'll go see a Star War. I'm talking about people who just know Star Wars and will go see a Star Wars movie because there is a Star Wars movie out.
That would be in addition to the Star Wars fans. This would be an additional audience to that.
Yeah, okay. Hardcore Star Wars fans, I'm saying like 10%, probably. Right? I'll say 20% is just people who know Star Wars, haven't seen a Star Wars movie in a while, and go, yeah, I'll do a Star Wars. Then I will say that there's an additional 20% who are fans of the show, who actually just want to see the show finale, because that show still gets quite a few viewers.
I would argue that 20% is all within the 30% you've already mentioned.
Maybe,
I think
but like that show.
I think the people who
that show is really big for Disney. Like it's their flagship show.
The show are hardcore Star Wars fans and people who are very casual Star Wars fans, which are that 30%. Like to us, The Mandalorian was big, right? It is the flagship Disney Plus show, but
okay. Hang on.
That flagship Disney Plus show is nothing compared to like a moderately
The audience for Star Wars movies
is
much bigger than the audience for Star Wars shows.
I agree with you, but I think that's the
issue. there are separate groups of people. I think they'll both come to this.
But are people going to view this as an episode of the show that they have to pay to watch, or are they going to view this as its own thing? Because it's not going to be its own thing. This will be
I think that'll depend on
the show.
Where you're coming from. Like, if you're just into Star Wars movies, you'll just kind of see this as its own Star Wars movie thing.
But you won't, because you know the show exists, and you intentionally didn't make time to watch it.
Yeah, but there are people who will not make time to watch the whole show, but will watch the movie.
I don't think those people will pay to watch a movie. I think they would consider watching it for free on streaming in 6 months.
I mean, maybe, but like, that's not relevant.
I think that's very relevant. I think that's the whole issue. Is I think there are a lot of people, and this could not be true. They could have cooked up a real banger here, but in all likelihood, no. I think what they have considered, or what they have done, is taken the scripts for season 4. I think they have squished them into 2 hours, and pumped it out as a theatrical release with the mindset that this is the most popular thing we've done since Rise of Skywalker. And Baby Yoda is cute and marketable. We could get some real ROI on this thing. I think that's been the thought process here. What they haven't considered
but Moana
is that this show, when this comes out,
Moana 2.
All right, hold on. What they haven't considered is that when this comes out, the show will have been out for almost 7 years. It will have only turned out 3 seasons and 24 episodes in that time frame. It'll have been 3 years since the last season of the show, and it'll be a thing predominantly people view as television, coming right after Avengers Doomsday in theaters.
Yes,
and why would I pay $20
itself,
to see an episode of TV in IMAX?
The Mandalorian itself is viewed that way, but Star Wars is viewed as a theatrical brand. So I don't see that as being a massive issue. Because while Mandalorian itself is perceived as, it's a TV show, the Star Wars brand in general is considered movies. Like the movies is the first thing anyone talks about.
I mean, they've been doing nothing but TV that no one's seen for 5 years.
Yes, but that's why no one's seeing it, because they haven't made a movie to supplement that content.
You don't think them just churning out forgettable show after forgettable show over the years has in any way damaged the theatrical prospects?
No, not really.
You don't think at all?
Because what was the time gap between episodes 1 and 7 when all they released was Clone Wars and like a couple other random other TV show tidbits?
A completely different situation.
Wow, everyone hated the prequels.
Yes, but they also didn't whittle it down with a series of low-quality television shows that no one watched. They made a cartoon for kids, which was largely viewed as a cartoon for kids.
Hang on.
Stop. Shush for 1 second. That was not in any way essential viewing for the series of movies they made, which were entirely driven by nostalgia and featured a bunch of things people remembered from their childhood and completely just capitalized on that nostalgia. The sequels and the Mandalorian and Grogu movie are completely different beasts in terms of scale.
When you say a bunch of low-quality shows, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, Skeleton
generally
Crew,
good.
Ahsoka.
The Mandalorian is viewed positively.
But no one
the only one that really
isn't
viewed positively is Book of Boba Fett.
All
the other ones reviewed very well.
But no one watched
and the Acolyte.
Them. Nobody watched any of them.
Yeah, so then it doesn't affect. If no one watches it, it doesn't matter.
But if you've made a bunch of television shows that no one has seen, people don't care about Star Wars right now. They just don't. Everything Star Wars.
But people didn't care about Star Wars. That's what I'm saying. People didn't care about Star Wars when Episode 7 came out. Not many people watched Clone Wars. It was really not huge.
Because Clone Wars was...
It was a kids' TV show on Cartoon Network. It was not like a gangbuster, like universe-defining... It was not a genre-defining thing. It was one show. And yeah, we watched it, and a lot of Star Wars fans watched it, but it was not like a general audience, everyone's got to tune into this show type. It's not Game of Thrones. Because
the last thing Star Wars had really done was the prequels, which regardless of the public perception of them, made a lot of money and a lot of people watched them. And then...
Yes, but the sequels also made a lot of money.
Correct. But this is not related to those. This is related to a TV show that no one watched. You know how many people went to go see the animated Clone Wars movie?
I don't know. Probably not that many.
Not a lot.
But that show also didn't exist yet. That was the start of the show.
What is this more similar to? It's more similar to Solo and the animated Clone Wars movie than it is
to it's
Episode 7.
Way more similar to Solo than it is to the Clone Wars movie. And here's why.
Which I have to clarify,
the Clone Wars show didn't
bombed.
exist yet. Listen. Yes, I know, but it bombs because it had twice the budget of this movie. I'm saying this will do the same as Solo.
If this makes the same amount of money as Solo, this would be considered a bomb.
Okay, that's their fault for being really bad at math. But, like, that's a success. Like, what are you talking about?
I think that is...
If it makes double its budget, then it made money.
Maybe down the line.
Yeah, and this will also get people on Disney Plus as well, because people are going to watch the movie on Disney Plus.
I'm concerned. I think that show... I mean, the third season viewership was down.
Clone Wars as a show did not exist when the movie came out. That was the first Clone Wars media that was released.
Other than the
second
animated microseries.
It's animated, and I'm not talking about the Clone Wars, the 2D animated series. I'm talking about the 3D Clone Wars show. That show this was the first thing from that show. And it's animated. The audience for animated movies, especially like adult, generally, at least older teens, younger adults, targeted stuff is much, much, much smaller than live action stuff. Way smaller. It's not really comparable. Like if we were talking about like a 3D animated Rebels conclusion movie, I would say, yeah, that's way more similar to the Clone Wars animated TV movie. That would be a much more logical comparison. I don't think this is really... I would put this in a similar boat with Solo and maybe Rogue One, but not even really Rogue One. More Solo than anything else. But
you didn't need to see really 4 seasons of television to understand what was happening in Rogue One or Solo. And you will need to have seen those for this.
I think that they're going to do a lot to make this a self-contained thing.
I will think they will try, but I think Dave Filoni can't help himself, and I think that this is a 4th season of the show that they turn into a movie.
But that's the thing. What does The Mandalorian have left to do? In the 3rd season of the show, What does he have left to do?
I think the only central mystery, and maybe this was resolved, I don't remember, is that why did they want Baby Yoda? I think that's the only...
Exactly.
That's the only thing left.
All we have left. That is... And they've hardly even clued into why. Like, they've mentioned it twice over the course of the whole show. Other than that, the Mandalorian has completed all of his quests. So this is, functionally, a brand new quest. I'm sure they'll tie off the Baby Yoda stuff, but that's super easy to convey. That's so easy to explain. It's like, yeah, they need him to make an evil Palpatine. You already know about that. You saw episode 9. You're good. I think that's way more achievable than it may first seem.
I just think, one, again, Dave Filoni can't help himself. We know Zeb is going to be in this. We know Rada the Hutt's going to be in this. These are all
but I think those are
Filoni characters that he just loves pumping in.
So that's the thing.
He makes.
I think more than anything else, this is going to be like a Star Wars Underworld type movie. Like, I don't think as far as Mandalorian stuff, I don't think we're doing much of it because he already completed that whole arc. That storyline is functionally over. There's not really much else to do there. Moff Gideon died. Mm-hmm. All his clones died.
I think there's a pretty good.
They saved Mandalore. Back. He's not even in charge. It's the other girl, so we don't have to go there if we don't want to.
Yeah, who
I think what the plot will be is he's back to doing bounty hunter stuff. He gets a mission to kill Jabba's son, and that's the main quest. And then that is eventually tied into the First Order wants Baby Yoda stuff. And I'm sure they can bridge that. That's sure. Maybe he's working for some First Order guy or whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I think I don't think that's too crazy. And I think, honestly, picking Jabba the Hutt's son does a lot of heavy lifting there. You don't have to explain very much who this guy is. You're like, oh, you know Jabba the Hutt. He's Jabba the Hutt, but stronger. Okay, cool. That's really all I need to know there. Who's this guy? Oh, he's Boba Fett, but he's a different color. Okay, cool. I get it. I know what's going on here. The Baby Yoda's weird, but he's cute, so I'll buy a plushie of it and move on. Like, I don't think you need to... I think that it is definitely going to be supplemented by the shows, but I don't think that the show is necessarily going to be mandatory viewing to watch this movie.
I just have concerns over...
Because the show's already ended twice.
I just have concerns over... People know about this show. They've heard about it for years. They distinctly didn't watch it. They chose not to watch it during the 3 seasons it was really popular. Then this movie comes out, and they have just spent $50 going to see Avengers in theaters 2 weeks before. And now you're asking them to pay $12, $15, $20 again to go see what they internally will associate as a TV show, but now I have to pay for it, and I didn't watch it when it was free the first time. I think that's a big leap for a lot of people to make.
I think that assumes that, like, the bulk majority of the audience is people who are into Star Wars enough to know what The Mandalorian is, but not enough to watch it. And I don't think that that's a large group of people.
That is the general audience. The general audience, I think the general knows audience... that there's a show called The Mandalorian that Baby Yoda was in, that everyone was talking about on the internet 5 years ago.
But I think they would go watch a movie. And here's why. Because I think the reason they wouldn't watch a show is because they perceive it as being not important enough to be a movie. But if you make a movie, now that's movie. So I go see movie.
Do they look at that as this thing that was free that I have to pay for now I need to go watch? Or do they look at it as that thing I didn't watch before has a movie, why would I watch it?
If it was free for them to watch, then they watched it. No one has Disney Plus and is not watching The Mandalorian. That's not like a group of people.
Okay, just in terms of like
Disney Plus has like 6 million subscribers. Disney Plus has how many subscribers? How many subscribers does Disney Plus have? Oh, okay. Then I don't know. Whatever. That's
like 80%. Conservatively, and being generous, saying 80% of the people with Disney Plus didn't watch The Mandalorian is being really friendly. In reality, it's probably closer to like 92%.
Yeah, okay, well, I don't know the number, but whatever. The point is,
again, to me and you, it seems like a lot of people watched that show. In reality, it was not that many people.
I mean, it's like the third season had about 6 million viewers.
I know a lot of people watched just the first season and then dropped off for 2 and 3. Will they come back for the movie? Maybe. But even that first season, when it was the biggest thing going on that month,
I think that all the people who watched the show will come to watch this.
I agree with you
because it will be perceived as a big deal, and I think there will be a group of people that also goes to see this in supplementation to that. That is the people who just watch the movies.
6 million people watched third season. They all pay $12 a ticket. A $72 million a box office. So they've got that. That's the floor. That's the bare minimum.
But on top of that, I think there's another 50 million of people who just want to see a Star Wars movie.
There might be.
Just of random people.
The question is that enough?
And there hasn't been a Star Wars movie in forever, and this is the next one. Like, people will go see this movie.
Have they been able to control the budget? Disney, with the Star Wars movies, is famously not. They've all gone dramatically over budget.
This will depend entirely on if the budget is under control.
Budget before. That's really the question when it comes to that. And how big is that casual audience? I think the other Star Wars movie they talked about, which was Star Wars
production budget estimation is 166 million, according to Collider, which that makes sense. Like that makes sense for what this is.
We'll see what it. I mean, I don't know where they got that number from because the movie's not finished yet, but we'll see what it is when it.
But like, even if that's
because
compared to making the show, I mean, how much does the show cost per episode?
That's a good question.
It's like, okay, worst case scenario.
What do you think? Do you think the name will hold it back?
Probably, yeah. And here's why. Everyone who knows The Mandalorian, they're already locked in. For people who don't know The Mandalorian and just know Star Wars, they're going to see this title and they're going to be, what's that? Yeah. And I think we're going to lose 10% of the people who just go see Star Wars.
People know Baby Yoda, but who knows Grogu? You know what I'm saying? That word means nothing to them. If this was called The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, they would be like, I know what that is. But if I know him. Yeah, the calling him Grogu is really intimidating. Obviously, you can't call the movie The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. Yeah, because Baby Yoda's
not his name.
Yeah, but okay, so season 1 had a $120 million production budget, 150 with inflation.
Okay, yeah. So then this will make all of its viewership that it normally makes on Disney Plus once it's on Disney Plus, plus whatever the box office is of the movie. Okay.
So the AI
that's
summary
a guaranteed extra bump in money.
The AI summary that gave you that 166 million budget is sources of Reddit post. So
this links to Collider. Okay. Yeah, this is Collider.
Mine links to a Reddit
Here, post. I can send it to you.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Oh, not moving on.
Here, this is the Collider article. There you go.
Let's talk about the other movie they announced, which I think has a better chance of making more money, and that is Star Wars Starfighter. This is from director Sean Levy of The Atom Project and Real Steel and Deadpool and Wolverine and the Night at the Museum movies and some episodes of Stranger Things. Pretty much every mediocre.
Just a bunch of very generic things.
Yes, he is directing this from a script by Jonathan Tropper, who wrote The Atom Project and the Apple show Your Friends and Neighbors, which I have been watching. It's been pretty good so far. Ryan Gosling is going to star in this. It's going to take place 5 years after Rise of Skywalker. It's a completely standalone thing. That's all we know. It comes out in May 27th, 2027, 28th, 2027. It'll be the 50th anniversary Star Wars movie to celebrate that. It'll be a year after Mandalorian and Grogu, a few weeks after Secret Wars. Mikey Madison was offered a role and turned it down, which we learned a few.
Yeah, that release date will get moved. They'll move that once we get closer to it. There's no way that's coming out 2 weeks after Avengers.
If they're putting that Mandalorian movie out, right after Doomsday. I don't see any reason why they'd feel the need to move this.
They're not going to do that either. They'll move that.
I think it's stupid that they're releasing these in May.
0% chance that that's even happening.
So Disney has, or they used to have, these specific release dates carved out every year for like their properties, right? So the first week of May, you'd always get a Marvel movie. You would always get a Disney live-action family movie at Memorial Day. You get a Disney animated movie in Thanksgiving. You get a Pixar movie in mid-June, and you get a Star Wars or Avatar movie in December. And that was always like the ideal, the version they had.
That was the way.
For some reason, they have decided and have kept trying to make it so that Memorial Day slot has been a Star Wars movie. They wanted Episode 9 to be a Memorial Day release back in 2019, but because they fired Colin Trevorrow and had to rework the entire thing, they had to push it back to December. Solo came out in May, right after Infinity War and Deadpool 2, and drowned at the box office.
Is it just because of May the 4th? Is that the only reason?
I don't know why. I think it's because they are under the impression that it'll be like, if we put Marvel movie at beginning of May and Star Wars at the end of May, we'll get double the money at once because we'll get that whole Marvel audience and that whole Star Wars audience. In their mind, they're thinking we'll get Endgame money and Force Awakens money all in the month of May, and it'll make $4 billion in 1 month, which is stupid.
That's not happening.
These should come out in December. I don't know why they're not. The whole idea was we would do Avatar 1 year and Star Wars the next. That fell apart because James Cameron can't get Avatar out fast enough.
Cameron can't make anything. Yeah.
But why are we putting this out in May? I get it. It is the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, but you can still do that in December. December 2027.
I think literally the only reason is May the 4th. I think they just wanted to have it on May the 4th. I think that's
But it's not. It's coming out 4 weeks after May the 4th.
Yeah, like I said, neither of these movies are coming out in May. That's just, again, that's just not going to happen.
Mandalorian is, because Mandalorian is almost done, and it's a year out.
Yeah, but they'll move the release date.
To when?
Like the end of the summer, like August.
Oh, well, you're not putting a Star Wars movie out in August.
Well, you're not putting it out when Avengers is out.
It's either coming out in May or December. They're not putting it out any other
And it'll
time.
come out in December. Yeah, it'll come out in December then. They're not going to... They will move it. There's no... I do not think they would release them at the same time.
And they can't push it to December. It's too crowded.
What else is happening in December?
Jumanji, Ice Age, Shrek, and Dune are all December of next year.
Dune is an issue. The other two they could move.
I mean, Ice Age, that is them. They could move that, but you're still competing with Jumanji.
I think Ice Age moves to Thanksgiving. Jumanji moves to mid-June. We put Star Wars.
Well, they can't move Jumanji.
And competes with Dune.
Sony.
Well, no, who's Jumanji?
If Disney moves, because the other Jumanjis have opened against Star Wars and done fine, so they're not going to move that. And then Shrek, don't underestimate, because Shrek, that's $1 billion franchise. Like
that's an animated family movie. That's not really. I don't think that's.
Shrek is giant. Shrek is huge. If you got Shrek and
Shrek is huge, but it's different people.
If you have Star Wars movie based on a TV show and it goes up against Shrek 5, Dune 3, and Jumanji 4, all those are going to eat its lunch. Like they just are.
Dune is getting pushed back. Dune's not releasing.
Dune's going to come out. Dune's going to start shooting.
Yes, it's going to come out, but it's not coming out next year. That's not going to happen.
It's going to be done next year. Danae's got a script. They're going to start shooting in the summer. Robert Pattinson's been cast. They're gearing up to go. When Zendaya's done with the Odyssey, she's going to shoot Dune. So you're going to go out and Warner Brothers, they're swinging their weight around right now. Whatever that is.
Then maybe flip Star Wars and Avengers.
You can't. Avengers is probably not going to be ready for May, but they'll rush it.
Yeah,
because they're not going to miss.
Then flip them. Flip them.
So you do. Early
Star Wars is not going to eat Avengers, but Avengers will eat Star Wars.
Avengers will eat Star Wars.
Yeah, so flip them.
That would be the smart thing to do. That way you would have to convince Marvel to push that date back, which I don't know if they would do.
I think they would be begging to push that date back by the time the date comes.
I think you're right. I mean, that would be the smart move. I mean, I don't know if that would even give them a considerable time to work on that. That'd just be a few more weeks to work on Avengers.
They need all the time. I'm sure no one would be complaining at the studio if they had an extra 2 weeks.
Isn't a real trap because you can't put it out December next year because it's already too crowded, and you already have Avatar this year. Like, you could have moved it up. If this was a few months ago, we could talk about moving this movie up because it's ready to come out this year. It could come out this year. But
they should have released it.
Maybe November.
They should have released it this summer, honestly. No, they got too many Marvels this summer. They should have released it this December. What are they releasing this December?
Avatar.
Oh, that's this year?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the trailer for that?
Well, it's a little far away. Probably in front of Superman.
It's like 7-8 months is perfect time to release trailer.
6 months out is when they normally do it. So probably in front of Superman.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of... The only thing that would make sense to me would be like a late summer, but that... Typically, that's not a traditional date for that.
It's not good for a big blockbuster like that. That's when you put out Freakier Friday.
I mean, Star Wars is big enough that I don't think it would kill it if you released it late summer.
Those certain dates help. Certain dates are big for movies. Thanksgiving, Christmas, beginning of summer, Memorial Day, 4th of July. Those holidays, spring break.
What are they
releasing just saw for Minecraft. Those are big. Zootopia 2.
Yeah, I feel like you can swing that. It's definitely more likely to survive Zootopia 2 than it is Avengers.
I mean,
there's way more audience crossover with Avengers than there is with Zootopia 2.
It would survive, but Zootopia 2 is bigger than Star Wars.
Yes, yeah, no, it'll definitely do more because
Disney doesn't double book. They don't double book. They have their one.
Double booked right now. The whole thing we're talking about it is a double book.
That's the only time is they don't like to have like their two big movies coming out at once. They like to have them roll out one at a time.
They're not doing that. They're having them roll out right next to each other.
It made more sense to me for Mandalorian because it was kind of hamstrung by what's coming out in the next 2 years, and it is of the smaller movies of the Star Wars movies supposed to be a little smaller than the other ones. It's not supposed to be Starfighter or the Rey movie or whatever the big trilogy they have coming out from Simon Kinberg. It's not supposed to be as big as those. So it made sense that they would put that one after Doomsday, or at least it made more sense than putting it up against Dune 3. The Starfighter movie with Ryan Gosling, which is their next big standalone movie. It's the first thing that's going to take place.
That one I think is going to do far better than this. Yeah.
It's got a big star attached to it. It's got a director who's a massive studio puppet, but turns out movies audiences eat up even though they're slop. Like, they've got all of that. Like, this is the big one they're pushing forward.
They got all the parts.
To have that one come out 3 weeks after Secret Wars, that is just pure idiocy to me. Especially
that won't happen.
When that December 2027 date is wide open.
That will move.
There's nothing opening in 2027.
There's no future where they don't move that one. Like, okay, Mandalorian, I get it's like a packed year. Maybe that's your only spot. Okay, sure. There's no way that the Sean Levy one doesn't move.
The only thing that is dated for December of 27 is an untitled Warner Brothers Pictures family sequel, which is presumably Wonka 2.
Oh.
Which we do fine against Wonka 2.
We're good.
You know what's also confusing?
I'm not worried about the Wonkster.
Lucasfilm has another Star Wars movie, an untitled Star Wars film dated of December of 27.
That's the Taika Waititi one, I bet.
Well, nothing else will be ready to go. So they're going to...
Yeah.
They're going to have to...
It's got to be the Taika Waititi one.
They're just going to have to move that Starfighter one back to December.
Yeah, I think that's
it's still
totally
insane to me that they think they're
reasonable.
I mean, it's insane to me that they think they're going to put out more than one Star Wars movie a year. There's no audience for that. People don't want that.
Oh, you're saying that... Oh, is Starfighter supposed to come out the same year as the Taika Waititi one?
The Taika Waititi one has no date. We don't know when that one's never going to happen. That's going to get canceled.
Right, but that's the only other one that they've announced.
Sam, I'm glad you brought that up. Because at the convention, they reminded everyone that James Mangold, Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, Taika Waititi, and Simon Kinberg are all working on new Star Wars films, and Simon Kinberg is working on 3.
Right, but in terms of ones that have had any motion,
Dave Filoni
also
working on one. Donald Glover also working on one.
Okay.
And Patty Jenkins
I could see it
all working on one.
maybe being... It could maybe be the Dave Filoni one. Other than that, I think it's got to be the Taika Waititi one is the only one that's had any news at all.
He's too busy working
anyone
on
is
Ahsoka,
involved.
so I think it won't be that.
Yeah, I think he's still cooking
Taika's
other
not
things.
doing anything. He's not coming back to Marvel.
That's why I'm thinking it's gotta... The untitled one has got to be the Taika one, because nothing else... And that's the only one that they've... Yeah, they have a writer. They have, like, people are actually involved.
From Poor Things in the Favorite to write the script, to rewrite it, I guess, because he's been writing it for years. That Rey movie with Sharman Obaid-Chinoy.
That's not ready yet. And that won't come out until they're ready to relaunch the Skywalker saga stuff.
Apparently that Mangled movie is just, like, years and years away.
Not real. Nope.
He's got 2 projects lined up, and apparently he ain't working on either of them. And that's Swamp Thing and that Star Wars movie. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. Star Wars is famous for announcing stuff and just never making anything. So
yeah,
it's kind of...
And again, that's why I say it's got to be the Taika Waititi one, because that's the only one that we've heard anything about. Like, they have said anything about it all.
Which means they're too big. So Star Wars has not been able... They have been struggling and failing to get a movie out for well over 5 years now. Their big comeback will be Mandalorian movie, Sean Levy movie, Taika Waititi movie. That's the big comeback.
Those could do number. None of them are going to do mainline Star Wars movie numbers, but they could all be decent performers. They all have the potential to be decent performers.
That Sean Levy one, I mean,
that one has the most potential of the 3 by 4.
I don't like that creative team, but standalone, I don't like the creative team, and I hate that title. That's a stupid title.
Well, that title's awful.
Star Wars Starfighter is stupid. It just does not.
But
it's just verbal.
It sounds Star Warsy, and honestly, that's all that matters.
In the name.
Yeah. No. But listen. If I don't know what a Grogu is, I'm gonna be confused.
Mandalorian and Grogu both made up words, both not real words.
Yes, neither are real words. Starfighter is still technically a made up word, but it's been around a lot longer. And so people go, okay, I understand. He pilot man, Starfighter, Ryan Gosling, spaceship.
I know who that is.
Yes, please. Movie, please. Give me that movie.
I mean, it concerns me that Mikey Madison just straight up refused to do it. But...
What did he do? What's his thing?
She was in Anora. She won an Oscar.
Her.
Yeah.
That might just be her being like, I want an Oscar. I'm not doing corpo Star Wars movie. Gross.
Or they were like, you'd be playing Glipglorp, the funny alien man. And she was like, no.
You think they would cast her as an alien? No. They cast her and we have a hot girl. Hot girl is going to be in movies.
Sam, this is
you don't cast hot girl and then make her alien.
This is the franchise that just cast Emmy winner Jeremy Allen White as buff Jabba the Hutt. So
yes, but Jeremy, okay. And listen to me closely. Jeremy Allen White is a bit of an ugly dude. Now, I'm not saying he's like an ogre. But he's a gritty dude. You know, he's an acquired taste. He's not a Ryan Gosling. He's not a Ryan Reynolds. He's not a Ryan. He's just not a Ryan. You know what I'm saying?
He's a Jeremy.
His face isn't bringing in the big bucks. But his voice could bring in some big bucks. That's fine. But if you cast hot girl, and then you make her alien. Now, you could make her hot alien.
You can make her hot alien.
That can work. But you don't make her Rod of the Hutt. You know what I'm saying?
You don't make her Glipglorp.
You don't make her Glipglorp. You make her Solana, the magic
space witch.
Alien witch or something. Yeah.
Something. Anyway.
So that I could see that just being she might honestly have other stuff going on. She might be getting other offers that we're not aware of because she did just win an Oscar. And that is generally, that puts you on a lot of boards.
Open some doors. All right,
Yeah.
let's touch on some of this other stuff real quick. Ahsoka season 2, Rory McCann is taking over the Balin Skull role because, of course, Ray
I don't know what
Stevenson
else he's been in, but he does look the part. I
passed
did see the
away
leaked
since
picture of him in the
season 1.
Balin Skull costume.
Rory McCann played the Hound in Game of Thrones.
Oh! Yeah, no, he could totally do that. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, no, that's a good way to go.
Admiral Akbar will appear in season 2. He's going to go apparently face to face with Grand Admiral Thrawn.
So, allow me to defend Glup Crapo for one moment. And hang on.
I'm hiding under my desk.
This one makes a little bit of sense.
With this man.
Hang on. This one makes a tiny bit of sense. Because name another admiral other than Haldo. And everyone hates Haldo. So don't even mention Haldo. Name one other admiral in Star Wars.
Admiral Yularen from Star Wars.
Okay, he's been dead for like 80 years. An alive
Admiral
one.
Akbar is dead. He died in The Last Jedi.
This is before that. I'm talking about one that's alive currently. Time period this movie is.
This is dumb fan
hang on.
This is just straight up.
All the other admirals died.
What?
When they attacked the second Death Star, they blew up the two other ships that the admirals were on. Admiral Akbar was the only surviving High Admiral in the New Republic army. He might actually be genuinely the best guy to go up against Thrawn at this point, which is, stupid.
No. We mentioned this earlier. This is the worst of Dave Filoni. This is him getting into his worst impulses, which is he's got to put a competent, cohesive storytelling or a bold visual style or good characterization. It's, hey, remember this guy? Look, he's here now. He's standing right there. It's that.
I honestly think Admiral Akbar will have a major part in this thing. I think they're hyping it up because they know Admiral Akbar, but I think this is literally what's going to happen. The New Republic Army is going to hyperspace to where Admiral Thrawn is. Admiral Akbar is going to go, prepare for attack! Launch all fighters! And then they'll launch all fighters, and we'll cut to him maybe one more time. I don't think he's going to play a major role in this series. I think he's just going to be guy in charge of the spaceships, and he is the guy in charge of the spaceships.
We also know Zeb is going to show up.
Zeb, yeah, that one's a lot less defendable because why is
Rebels.
Zeb here?
We're doing more Rebels. That's what the show has always been. That's been the excuse for its existence. Was Dave wanted to make more Rebels.
More Rebels. Yeah.
It's coming out in 2026, which is 3 years after season 1, which is absurd. They haven't even started shooting it yet.
Why are we doing crazy. It this long? And she's gonna ride a wolf this time.
2 years. 2 years to get to shooting the second season.
Tucker, she's gonna ride a wolf this time.
Like Princess Mononoke.
Because Princess Mononoke, and so she rides a wolf now.
That's great. Good for
and Dave Filoni made Loath Wolves just for this one moment. As soon as he said that, I was like, oh, that's why you made the magic wolves.
I am glad that Dave Filoni has seen something that is in Star Wars. I am glad to hear that he watched anything that is in Star Wars. Amen. All right. Lucasfilm Animation. They're celebrating the 20th anniversary this year. They announced their next mainline animated series is going to be Maul Shadow Lord, coming in 2026 to Disney+. Sam Witwer is returning to voice Maul. It's going to take place between Star Wars The Clone Wars and Rebels. It's going to be about him running his criminal empire, growing it, losing it, training an apprentice who is apparently Darth Talon, who is a Legends character.
So this more than any of the other stuff they announced is probably the one that I am the most interested in. Mostly because I've always wanted to see that. they never finished that in Clone Wars. They just kind of shot him off into space, and then we saw him show up later, and it's like, I'm in charge of the underworld now. And I was like, no, you weren't. You got shot off into space.
Well, okay.
And then you showed up on Malachor randomly. He just spawned on Malachor. He was just there. Yeah.
So the main gap
he was just on Malachor chilling.
The main gap here is we saw at the end of at the end of Clone Wars, he disbands his criminal empire to tell him to go into hiding because the Empire is going to come. And then he escapes the ship that Ahsoka's on that's crashing, and he disappears. And then he pops up again in Solo. And
he is still running the criminal underworld. He is back
running whatever they're called, the Crimson Tide,
the Black Sun, or Crimson Sun, or whatever.
Crimson, whatever they are.
Crimson Sun, because he killed the Black Sun and took it over.
Yeah, and he ignites his lightsaber, and he's like, Emilia Clarke, you gotta come see me to do crime.
You have to come. We have to come do things.
And then the next time we see him after that, chronologically, is that he's in Rebels, and he is a poor homeless man living in a cave, and he has lost everything. And he's trying to get Ezra to open a door for him.
I have long been confused about how he went from running the largest non-Imperial rebel structure in the galaxy to homeless guy living in a cave.
Correct.
So I am genuinely interested in how he got there, which is why this is the only thing out of all these things that I actually want to see happen.
A couple of things about this that are interesting. One is that presumably all that stuff would have been covered in the Solo sequels that never got made because that movie bombed.
Yes, which included the Boba Fett spin-off movie and the Lando spin-off movie, which is still somewhere kicking around there somewhere at Disney.
Donald Glover got paid to write it, and then the script's never coming. So presumably, this is cover what that was gonna cover.
Yeah.
And then also, this is the first Star Wars animated series to ever focus on a singular character. The rest of them have all been ensemble stuff. This is just gonna follow one guy and what he's doing, and presumably it won't be little arcs. Star Wars shows tend to have little arcs. And not like
the major Star Wars animated series, those being Clone Wars and Rebels, always have arcs. There's like a Mandalorian arc. There's a Umbara arc. There's always arcs. And just series like 4 or 5 episodes. Yeah.
Andor has little arcs. Like they all have little arcs to them. So presumably this will just be like big mainline seasons, one big storyline. Probably seasons will be pretty short, like 10 episodes, is my guess. Probably not very long.
I think this will only run for maybe 2 seasons. I don't think this is going to be a big show.
Probably not very long.
Yeah.
But I
see this being much more of a Bad Batch than a Clone Wars.
Oh, 100%. That's what they're modeling this after. I mean, shows and seasons keep getting shorter and shorter. I think their next big main show will be something that takes place.
Did you see the leaked trailer for this one?
I saw some bits of it. It wasn't very long. It's only a couple seconds. It's just kind of a few shots of him holding a red lightsaber. And...
No. So that's the one that they actually just released straight up. There is a full trailer that they did not release, but that leaked.
Is there anything of note in it?
So, animation-wise, this is another step up from
it looks like
what we've seen them do before.
But
you know how Clone Wars, like, it got progressively better, and they just kept getting progressively better, and then Clone Wars was kind of a step down, and then we got progressively better again.
And then Bad Batch just looks like
this is another step up from Season 7. This is, from what I saw, significantly higher fidelity than Clone Wars. We know that the rebellion is kind of in its infancy, so he's dealing with both the Empire and the rebellion. He is training a red Twi'lek girl to be his apprentice. The only other red Twi'lek character in Star Wars that is even remotely notable is Darth Talon, and they did an interview with what's his name?
Sam
Witwer. At the event where he said that Dave Filoni was sneaking in parts of the lore that Sam Witwer was not familiar with at all into this show, which that would make... And he said he was doing it in a kind of weird way that you wouldn't expect, which Darth Talon, for those of you who aren't aware, which is all of you, is the apprentice of Darth Krayt, who is the main antagonist in the Star Wars universe post-Empire. So after the Emperor has been defeated, once Luke has started his new Jedi Order, Darth Krayt kind of becomes the next big villain. His apprentice is Darth Talon, who really only exists to be in a bikini. She doesn't really have much impact on that story.
She's gonna be the main villain of George Lucas's original Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Yeah, because she is hot and red and in bikini. And George Lucas went, hot red bikini character, be main villain. Yay, woohoo! Put Ahsoka in a tube top, even though she's 12.
Breaking news update. Kawhi Leonard just put up 40 points in a 105-102 win over the Denver Nuggets.
That's great. What is any of that? I don't know any of those guys.
Continue.
So this aligns perfectly. Put all the pieces are put together here. Mm-hmm. That's definitely Darth Talon. Also, I think thematically putting her here as Darth Maul's apprentice kind of has more visual synergy as well as thematic synergy.
Both red.
They're both red and black. They have red skin and black tattoos. She's got the opposite. Orange. She has red skin and black tattoos instead of black skin and red tattoos, which is what Darth Maul has. She is they have desexified her. If any of you have ever Googled Darth Talon, it's all just sexy fan art.
They've gone woke.
They've gone woke. They've desexified the sexy Sith girl. But that's fine. Who cares? I don't care. She's also significantly younger in this series. She looks like she's about Ahsoka's age, not post Clone Wars Ahsoka, but like actual regular introduction of Ahsoka age.
I'll say.
But they put Ahsoka in a tube top, so again, that has not stopped them in the past.
Dave before.
Dave will do it. I'm excited for this. I think this is cool. I like the Star Wars underworld setting. There's a lot of cool stuff that goes on there. Seeing this type of rags to riches to rags to riches to rags to riches to rags story, which I think is the whole course of Darth Maul's life, is interesting to see. It's a story that, you can kind of keep telling because everyone is familiar with that trope. This could be cool.
I am more
clearly this
is
is
than Bad Batch. I think the pitch for this is better. Bad Batch's pitch was like, what if some guys just kind of ran around and did some stuff? This is,
and
like,
I did
what
appreciate
if man
some
had criminal empire and did some evil magic.
I did appreciate some of what Bad Batch did. I liked seeing the transition from the Republic to the Empire, but with Andor existing now,
happening in the background of a show about some people who kind of sat in a bar and like played checkers.
And especially now with Andor existing, we see a lot more of that sort of type of Star Wars content, and they do a lot better job of it in Andor. So that's
season 2 tonight.
Which all the early reviews of Andor have seemingly been phenomenal. So I'm very excited for that. That all said, this is also a period of time that these guys have been developing for a very long time. This has been a story that they have been trying to get into Star Wars for a while, either through Clone Wars stuff that never got used, Rebel stuff that never got used, Solo stuff that never got used,
comics,
even video game stuff that never got used. There's some of this in
game that was almost in development.
Yeah, so this is something they have been trying to do for a long time, and I think that a story that is they've put this much work into. I'm interested to see why they have been fighting so hard to get this out there. Something's got to be going on here.
Other Disney animation stuff, Star Wars Visions Volume 3 is coming October 29th. 3 of the episodes are going to be sequels to The Duel, The Village Bride, and The Ninth Jedi. The Ninth Jedi is getting its own
spin-off show as well, which is not canon.
Also not canon.
Still not canon.
Series for Disney+.
Hey, you know what? Okay. So I have conflicting thoughts on the Ninth Jedi spin-off show. Because on the one hand, I have always wanted a Star Wars anime.
Right.
I have always wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of, sort of gave me that with Visions, but not really. I have long said that this should exist. However, The Ninth Jedi is not my favorite episode of Visions.
I have not
It's
seen
not even in my
Visions.
top 3. I barely remember what happens in The Ninth Jedi. I vaguely recall that she had like a weird lightsaber that was like a sickly green color, and I think it could like pass through other lightsabers or something. There was some weird trait that it had. I don't remember exactly what was going on with that. I would have much rather liked to see The Duel or The Village Bride become series. The Village Bride is probably my second favorite episode behind The Duel. The Duel is really cool. Classic, cool samurai, but Star Wars. That's sick. And they do some really interesting visual storytelling in The Duel as well, that if you're not intimately familiar with Star Wars, you might not have necessarily recognized, where the main character is a Sith who has left the Sith and become a hunter of Sith, and he's got a collection of red kyber crystals. So that is a cool story they could do. I'm glad to see they're doing more of that story, because that sounds cool. I don't really care so much for The Ninth Jedi. I have always wanted a long-form Star Wars anime. I don't know that I necessarily care for this.
I don't care for this. I'll just openly say it. I don't care about anime. I didn't watch Visions. Probably not going to watch the new season of Visions. I will go back to doing what I always do to anime, which is ignore it and continue to receive.
Season 2 of Visions was all Western cartoons. You could watch that season.
Still not going to do it. I just can't. I genuinely, no fault to anyone who makes that show. I just can't get myself to sit down and watch it all. Like, if I do watch it, I know what I would do is I just shotgun it all at once and like barely even remember it in the first place.
You would probably like the first season. Because they take Star Wars concepts and they explore them in interesting ways that they don't do in any of the other stuff. Because it's not canon. Because it's not canon, they can do really interesting stuff with the characters that you can't really do normally. So I would say it's worth watching. I don't really care about the Ninth Jedi episode. That one's not very interesting. Star Wars Zero Company we talked about a little bit, because that broke right towards the end of last week's episode.
Did any news actually come out about that? Do we care?
It's gonna get made.
Okay, cool.
It's happening.
And then the only other Star Wars news from this week was that this was not at Celebration. This was revealed earlier today. Nick and Carlton Cuse, who are both separate TV writers, but their father and son, who have worked on stuff like Lost and Watchmen, are currently writing a mystery Star Wars series for Disney+. No information about it. We don't know when that's coming out, what that even is, would it be about, anything else about it, just that they're writing it. I will say, and this was something from the presentation in general and from the Star Wars franchise they've been doing for the past couple months, and that is that this whole era of Star Wars is Disney Plus TV Factory is very much coming to an end. Andor Season 2, which is the final season of that show, starts this week. Ahsoka Season 2 is next year, and after that, there have been no other greenlit Star Wars live-action shows. That is it.
Is this not live action?
Presumably what they're working on is, but this hasn't been greenlit yet, and we don't know what it is, and we don't know when it would come out. So
it's not greenlit yet.
It's in development, so they could get a pilot script and read it, and it would be bad, and they could shut it down.
This would be so cool, though.
We don't know what this is.
I want Star Wars crime noir. I want that. That's cool.
But,
cool idea. I want it.
I
want Jedi detective.
They appear to be moving back into trying to make Star Wars a big theatrical thing. We'll see how that works with Mandalorian and Starfighter, which will be the first kind of cracks at that after this break they've been on from movies. I think when we look back at this Star Wars TV gluttony era, definitely highs and lows. More lows than highs, I think.
Ahsoka is good.
Mid.
Mandalorian is mostly good. Andor is really good.
Very good.
Bad Batch is fine. Clone Wars Season 7 is really good.
Good. Well, the last 4 episodes.
Yeah, the rest of it, doesn't matter. It doesn't count. Season 7's good because those ones aren't even part of it. What else? Book of Boba Fett was just not worth watching at all, except for the 2 episodes that are Mandalorian episodes. Which
Fine.
even though those 2 episodes are fine, it makes the series as a whole worse because like, why are they even there? Dumb idea. Why, Dave? Dave, why? Why? How did you fumble this? That's insane. What else have they done? What other shows have they done for Star Wars? Skeleton Crew is really good.
Yeah,
more of you guys should watch that.
Cute, but no one
it's
watched
good. It's really good.
Mid.
Acolyte is fine. Sure. Acolyte has a lot of really cool stuff. I do think it's worth watching.
We've talked about it,
but it's not a very good. We've talked about it at length. It has some of the best fights in Star Wars. One of the coolest villains in Star Wars. Otherwise, it's just very average.
Yeah, no, I think overall a very weird and kind of muddled time for Star Wars. We'll see how they recover, if they recover.
I don't think Star Wars
50 years old in 2 years.
I don't think Star Wars is fully back until the Rey movie comes out. I think that's the next real Star Wars thing. Like, this stuff is fine.
In theory,
the stuff they've announced, yeah, okay. That's the next actual thing.
I don't know.
Starfighter, let's not mince words. That's nothing. That's nothing. It'll make money, but that's... Who cares? What is that? What even... I don't care about
Gosling.
Mandalorian, yeah, we're wrapping up the show.
Right.
That's cool. But that's not... Star Wars isn't back. We're just finishing something we started a minute ago. It's not the same. And that's stuff from the New Republic sequel era. So, like, until all that stuff is wrapped up, we're not back. Maul, that's more Clone Wars. Been there, done that. Until the Rey movie comes out, we're kind of just...
I don't know. Star Wars is at an interesting point.
Silly mode.
It's going to be 50 soon. More and more of the original cast is passing away with each year. George is
Mark
80.
Hamill's still around.
Hamill's still around. George is 80. I don't know. It's at a point where it's like, who is the audience for this anymore? There's a lot of it. There's too much of it. They've done 9 main movies. They've made 12 movies overall, with more on the way. It's got a very small audience in a lot of the international areas. It's really at a point where it's going to be testing genuinely how long can these franchises go on for. This is the question that is soon going to be a reckoning in all of Hollywood, because they have been relying on IP that has been 40 years old since the early 2010s. And we're at the point where a lot of the people who grew up on this stuff are old, and the current generation, we're seeing this with Minecraft and with a lot of the MCU stuff and the video game movies.
Yeah, they want new stuff.
And what is popular, they want their stuff. They're done with their grandpa's reheated IP from 45 years ago. So this is a real reckoning that is going to be industry-wide and not just for Star Wars. And that is like, how long will people care about these IPs? And we'll see.
Yeah. I will say Star Wars is a little more unique, I think, than most of the IPs that we've been recycling. And that's because it is almost cyclical in its generational cycle. It started with the originals. They were the first generation. And then they grew up. They went to the sequels. And they hated them. And then their kids went. And their kids liked them. And then those kids kept Star Wars alive until the sequels. They saw the sequels. They hated them. But there was a whole generation of kids that did see the sequels. And they're probably going to be getting to the age where they're like, oh, that's that thing I liked, and I will see the next phase of it.
That is a thing people have been talking about, and we're reaching that point. And you know what hasn't come
We're getting there.
Not a lot.
But we also haven't gotten the new movies yet. The reevaluation only happens. The reevaluation only happens when there is another trilogy.
Another trilogy.
And that's what happened with the prequels. They saw the sequels, and then everyone went, "Oh, the prequels are actually good." Was
there a new trilogy, or was that because it was at that point where if you were 10 when Revenge of the Sith came out, you were 20 when Force Awakens came out, and you were on the internet now?
I think it was a mix of both, but people only really start thinking about it when there is new content coming out.
So when Kinberg craps out his new trilogy, you think we'll get back on the Force Awakens train?
Yeah, I think people will revisit those movies, at least the younger, the generation under, like, Gen Alpha, and they'll be like, you know what? You know what I kind of liked? You know what I actually kind of enjoyed? I like me some BB-8. You know what my favorite Star Wars is? Rose Tico. That's my favorite.
No one's favorite.
You know who the best pilot in the galaxy is? Poe Dameron. You're going to be hearing that. It's going to happen eventually. Because there was a whole generation of kids who went to see those movies. And those are going to be their favorite Star Warses.
Are they?
We know it happened because they all made $1 billion, even if they sucked.
They did all make $1 billion. All right, that's all the Star Wars talk I can conceivably handle within a small period of time. So we can either shut off here or we can talk about Daredevil for 10 minutes. What do you want to do?
We could talk about Daredevil. We didn't really have any much news this week.
Right,
we have some Daredevil time.
Well, the finale aired. What did we think of
Daredevil
Born Again season 1?
I didn't remember what happened. Okay. Yeah, I think this was pretty good.
This was fine.
I think it had some big issues.
Correct.
A lot of big issues.
Agreed.
Some characters had really weird arcs that didn't make a lot of sense.
Or no arcs.
I'm looking at therapist woman especially.
Therapist
What
woman,
even was her arc?
Cherry.
What was that?
BB
what
Eric,
was her arc? What does that mean?
Whatever his lawyer partner's name is, whatever her name is. What was
she was not even in the show. Let's not even pretend like she's a character.
Kingpin's.
The only characters that had interesting arcs were Matt Murdock,
kinda,
and Kingpin's younger assistant guy.
Yeah, and Kingpin. I think Kingpin went through some interesting stuff this season. And
Kingpin had
Vanessa. I think they did some interesting stuff with Vanessa this.
I liked exploring their relationship a little more. Yeah. That was an interesting spin on it.
Now that the season is wrapped, I could say the weirdest and probably the show's biggest flaw is that out of all of its main cast and all the characters that appear, whatever Matt Murdock is doing is the least interesting thing going on in the show.
Yeah, everything around him was way more interesting than what his stuff was.
Especially during this finale, anytime Michael Gandolfini's character was there, who plays Fisk's assistant, or Fisk was there, or Punisher was there, I was like, and then they would cut to Matt, I was like, can we go back to the Punisher show? I kind of just want to watch the Punisher show.
I think that was kind of the point. I think he was supposed to be taking a more passive role this season. When Karen
showed back up in the finale and they had a scene together, I was like, okay, this is the right track.
Now we're talking the real talk.
We got the sauce on now. Now we're cooking again.
Yeah.
This is right.
And I forgive it because even though it wasn't the most exciting season and it was kind of boring and there was some weird story arcs that went in really weird places or just didn't really go anywhere.
Poorly thought out.
I really like where we left off. I think we left off in one of the most interesting places the show has been so far, counting the older seasons. Because Fisk has never had more control. He's never been this close to achieving his goal. The city is in a state of hopelessness. And Daredevil is finally back for real this time. Not just like doing kind of random one-off nonsense.
Karen's back and she's replaced Therapist Woman.
And Karen's back because Therapist Woman sucked. Why was she even there? I do like the idea of Fisk turning Matt's woman against him or his girlfriend or whatever. That's an interesting idea.
The show kind of gives off the impression that he doesn't care about her all that much.
Yeah, but like it seemed like he never was straight with her. He never even told her that he was Daredevil.
He was like, gotta bang.
It seems like he's just banging her. He's just banging her. They're just hooking up.
Karen's out of town and he's got no one else to go after.
Karen's out of town and that's his second choice. And we already know what that looks like because we did that in She-Hulk already.
And Daredevil season 1 and 2. So
yeah. Okay. Also, another thing. Where does this take place relative to She-Hulk? Before or after?
After.
After?
After.
Okay.
He left
That makes
California and was just like, I'm done with that chick.
Interesting. Okay.
But
so,
anyway,
yeah.
Okay.
I do like where we left off. I thought that was really cool.
All of the stuff that was done when they reworked the show after Darius Scartapane came on to be the showrunner and they fired all the original writers. All of the stuff from the reworking is clearly the best stuff, which gives me hope for season 2 when they have full control from the start and they can just do their thing and get done with it. That gives me hope for that.
You know what this show should have been?
What is that?
And then would have made it like 10 times better.
What is
this? Should have been called Daredevil and the Punisher. And while Matt Murdock is busy doing nothing for the whole season, we could have focused on what the Punisher was doing. Since I would argue...
He does...
Thematically speaking,
it
is way more relevant to his character.
The anti-vigilante more stuff is way more relevant to
anti-vigilante, and that's the main story arc in terms of the villains. That's the main thing the villains are doing.
We now know what Fisk's big overarching plan is.
Yeah.
Which is more relevant.
But like the way we see it in the show. Yes. And that's why it should have been Punisher and Daredevil, or Daredevil and the Punisher. That should have been the show, because we get Matt doing his lawyer stuff, and doing his trying to take down Fisk the lawyer way. Mm-hmm. And since he isn't Daredevil for basically the whole show, save for like 2 episodes, we can supplement that with Punisher stuff. Because, in all honesty, what does Punisher do this season? Have one good chat with Matt,
right,
and then like one action scene, and that's basically it.
Okay,
2 action scenes, but they're basically the same action scene.
The action in the show is bad.
It's not great.
It's bad. It's just not good. It's really poorly shot. It's poorly choreographed.
It's very CW fourth season type
over
stuff.
CG'd. Like, it's genuinely bad.
And the fake blood. The fake blood is so corny.
Way too much CGI
just stop
blood.
It.
Way too
Stop
much
doing
CG
fake blood. That looks so
It's super over the top,
dumb.
too. It was really... it really took me out of it. It was like
they were trying to make it over the top, but it was too much.
I don't think they were... Okay,
stupid.
When Fisk crushes that fake head, which was insanely gory, like, that was fine. And that was practical.
And that was thematically poignant.
Yeah.
It was a sharp jab of violence that brings Kingpin back into the story.
It was reminiscent.
Kingpin wasn't really Kingpin until that moment.
It was reminiscent of season 1 when he crushes that guy's head with a car door. Like, that was obviously what they were alluding to there. But Punisher just kind of like hitting a guy with a knife and then 3 milk cartons of blood spill out of his neck for no reason.
That's silly.
Over the top. It takes me out
Even
of it.
the Punisher didn't have blood and violence like that.
No, it's supposed to be... It's this stupid MCU thing where they're like, oh, Daredevil was TVMA. That means blood everywhere. No, that just means in that show, that means they had F-bombs, and that if they shot someone, they bled. There was just any blood. Not that their like entire esophagus exploded. Okay, that's not what the point of that is.
I think that was most exemplified by Muse and all of Muse's stuff. Because it was just unnecessarily gross and for no real reason. He didn't even have any powers. He's just some freak. And in the comics, he does have powers.
That whole plot line, useless, pointless. Cut that out.
That went nowhere. I don't even know what that was about.
Or at least work it in better, set it up more, have the payoff take a little longer. Give him a couple
Muse
more
needed to have some connection. Muse needed to have some connection to somebody. He's just some guy.
They tried to give him one to Therapist Woman, but we only saw them interact one time.
Yeah. Like, that needed to be... that should have been her, like, stepson or something.
We never see him interact with Matt.
That's what he should have been. So he should have been her stepson. Her kid. Something like that.
Something like that. Something to where like that, where Matt Murdock could have had a scene with him before we found out he was Muse.
Yeah, because now he's just crazy serial killer guy. And that's fine. It's fine to have crazy serial killer guy, but like not in this show. But that doesn't make any sense.
Of everyone's time.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. Or if you do have crazy serial killer guy, he needs to be the main thing we're dealing with.
Because the thing with this show...
And they need to be focusing on that.
They introduce so many new characters that anytime we're just wasting time foiling a bank heist or beating up a random crazy guy, like we're losing time developing any of the other characters on the show that aren't named Matt Murdock or Wilson Fisk.
And you know, I think I know why that is
development except for those two.
I think at some point in the show's development, there was no Daredevil until the last episode. And I think Disney goes, but if he's not Punch Guy, why watch show? I only watch show when he Punch Guy. And so they went, okay, well, we can't have him be no Daredevil the whole show. So we have to have him Punch Guy. So who do we have? Okay, he looks creepy. It's rated TV MA, so we have to put blood everywhere. Put creepy guy, blood everywhere. That way he Punch Guy, and then we can do the rest of the show the way we want to do it.
Mm. Yeah. I mean...
Because you could cut that out, and if you do cut that out, he's not Daredevil until the last episode. He has no reason to be Daredevil until the last episode without that.
Mm-hmm. That could definitely be
he is kind of Daredevil a little bit at the bank, but you could have worked that in and had him not go full Daredevil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that all played out with him becoming Daredevil.
I would have cut that episode entirely. I thought that was just dumb MCU garbage.
That was so random. That didn't need to be. That you can skip.
He's spending an episode teaming up with Kamala Khan's dad. Like just the ultimate Glup Crapo. A couple of Glup Crapos in this show. Jack Duquesne shows up.
Like weird ones too.
The swordsman does nothing, literally nothing, just sits there in a cage.
Yeah.
But he's
never does any sword thing. Nothing. Okay. And you know what else is stupid? This kind of did bug me. Why did spoilers, I guess, for Daredevil? Why did Kingpin let Punisher live?
If there is one guy, caught a bunch of vigilantes. Why did he let any of them live? Why did he kill Victor Ayala and let Punisher live?
Well, okay, hang on. Well, okay, I think the cops killed Victor Ayala on their own business because they were like, he killed a cop, we kill him.
Sure,
I think that's
Punisher
their own thing.
Also killed like 40 cops.
Yes, but they like him for some reason. We know why they like him.
Yes, we know why.
They like him. So, but what I'm saying is, if there is one guy in the whole MCU that you do not let live after you have screwed him over, it's the Punisher.
Right.
He's basically the Marvel equivalent of John Wick. You don't let that guy live.
No, he'll kill you.
And you want to know why you don't let that guy live?
Because he'll show up to your house and mow you down with a machine gun.
Even before season 2 comes out, he broke out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
He breaks that dude's arm. Why did that guy shake his hand? Is that guy freaking stupid?
I don't know if that.
Are you stupid?
I don't know if he's.
Do you know whose hand that guy is?
I don't know if he's going to be in season 2 or if that's set up for the Punisher special that we're getting next year. I'm not sure which one comes out first.
Either way, it doesn't make a difference really.
Which the whole ending of season 1, where Daredevil has.
I have a couple of issues.
Daredevil has assembled his elite team of.
And
random cops,
4 random guys,
and Karen.
You know who else is around?
I was stupid to think this, but when he was like, "We need a team of our own," I was genuinely like, "Okay, the Defenders are gonna show up.
You mean
Defenders are gonna show up?
Team you're a part of?
Yeah,
you couldn't possibly be thinking of the team you have,
right?
Of people with superpowers. Like, okay,
this hasn't leaked.
Not those guys.
This hasn't leaked beforehand because they were only in one shot. That was probably in a green screen closet. They've been hiding this whole time. Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, they're all going to be standing there, right? And then they cut to that scene, and he's like, "Here's our team," and it's like woman in suit,
bartender,
and Karen,
2 random cops, and a lawyer from another district.
And I was just like,
guys,
this is lame. This is lame as hell.
It's okay. Fisk as a threat at this point is Spider-Man level. He is at Spider-Man level threat right now.
I was at least expecting them to be like, when he cuts to his cage of vigilantes he's captured, I was like, okay, Defenders here, and like part of season 2 is we gotta break him out, and then like we go in and get him at the end of season 2. No, we cut to the cages. It's a bunch of faceless nobodies, Jack Duquesne, the swordsman, and then Punisher, who breaks out in this post-credit scene.
Look, okay, even where's Kate Bishop? She could be here.
Too expensive.
Why not?
Haley Steinfeld.
Is she too expensive?
Haley Steinfeld.
Is she too expensive?
She's too expensive for Daredevil.
Did Hawkeye have a bigger budget than Daredevil?
She's Young Avengersing. She's off doing a Young Avengers.
Dumb.
With Kamala Khan.
Kamala Khan could be here.
No,
Jersey City's not that far. She got pulled over. Why not?
We couldn't even get her. We only got her dad.
Her dad was here.
We only got her dad. We couldn't even get her.
Again, Spider-Man, at this point, could we not have at least had one CGI Spider-Man swinging in the background at some point?
They're
Why
legally
not?
unable to mention him on this show.
But what if he's animated technically because he's a CGI Spider-Man?
It has to be an animated series. It cannot be an animated Spider-Man in live action.
What if that episode's under 40 minutes long, then we're allowed to do it?
That's not how that works.
That is literally exactly how their deal works.
They will get sued.
Nah.
No, Noah watched this Daredevil show, and it would have been canceled if they hadn't already been shooting season 2. So at least we're getting that.
Yeah. As much as I do think that the way they ended the show is cool, because of the fact that this exists as part of a larger universe, it makes very little sense.
Mm-hmm.
Logically speaking, I'm talking not rights. Spider-Man is here. All the Defenders are here. Heck, even Doctor Strange at this point is probably here. Or at least
any
Wong.
of the superheroes in New York City.
Which is like half of them.
Also, I don't know, some of the Fisk stuff with him declaring martial law and a big blackout. I thought they should have done more with a blackout. I thought that should have been like a 2-episode long arc. Like, you're going to black out New York City and you're going to have all the criminals be on the loose and like Punisher and Daredevil are on the run. Like, that's several episodes worth of story. To cram that in the middle of the finale was a lot. And
in the Netflix series, that would have been a 3-episode arc.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of it, the heroes would have been at their limit, you know?
I liked all the Fisk stuff in this episode. I think my favorite scene in this episode was the part where Michael Gandolfini's character goes in the room with the press and they're like, we're going to publish a story, or like with the city council. And then he threatens to blackmail them if they don't do what he wants.
That was a really, really good episode.
That was the best scene.
A really, really good scene.
That was the best scene in this episode. And it's just a guy in a room talking. That was it. That was the stuff I liked.
Yeah.
I think we put Matt in
I did like
I think trying to
I did like Radiohead. Radiohead is the ending song was
Needle
cool.
Drop. Again, I'm looking forward to season 2. Karen back.
Yes.
Presumably a more thoroughly thought out and cohesive main storyline. Real stakes that are visible from the beginning.
And what I heard
working Foggy's character back into the narrative, but not directly, with kind of like the work he was doing was related.
Yeah, we're finally picking up on like that whole story, which got very sidelined for most of the show.
Bullseye will be back, who's great. Love him. So,
like, okay, that's another issue that I had. You're telling me, after Foggy dies, Matt Murdock does nothing? He sit around, he do nothing? He don't even know what case Foggy working on. They work at the same freaking place. They work on the same cases. What are you talking about? You're telling me he doesn't walk over to Foggy's desk in their building that they own, and he goes, let me open this drawer. Oh, this is the case he was working on right here. What was going on there? That doesn't make any sense.
But yeah, fine show, better than most Marvel TV stuff. If we're considering this a season of the Netflix show, this is the worst season. So and that is mostly a testament to how good those first 3 seasons of Daredevil are.
They were very consistent. Season 4, actually, I don't think I finished because I was confused because I didn't watch Defenders.
Season 3 is amazing. It's a great show.
I tried to watch it, but I was just like, what happened to all the Daredevil stuff? We just stopped doing all the Daredevil things. I don't care about whatever's going on now.
Any other thoughts? I don't have any right now. It's also very late at night. It's like 2 a.m.
I'm trying to think of anything else going on with Daredevil. What happened to the costume? I thought we were doing the Double D costume.
We're doing the Double Ds next year. That leaked. We're doing the black suit Double Ds.
Right. Stuff that leaked. We know that they're reversing the setup for the next season. I heard that the idea was, rather than him being not enough Daredevil, too much Matt Murdock, we're doing too much Daredevil, not enough Matt Murdock. And that's going to be the general premise, which
that
does sort of revert us back to the first season
of Daredevil.
Yeah.
That was the entire
we've done this
season.
We've covered this territory before, but I think the circumstances surrounding it are different enough that I think it is worth a revisit.
Yeah, it's all how they do it, and I have more faith in this head writer than I do the old one.
Previous one.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So, would I recommend Daredevil Born Again?
Probably. Maybe. I think so. If you like the original show.
Oh, for sure.
If you like the original show,
you're watching this already.
It's got just enough of the original sauce that it's worth watching. The flavor's not quite the same. They changed the recipe. The new recipe's not as good. But it's still pretty good.
Every scene is massively overlit for no reason and super washed out.
Hey, you know what? I have long said I would rather a scene be overlit than underlit. I would much rather have a Daredevil Born Again than I would a Game of Thrones The Long Night, where the biggest battle in the whole show, you can't see anything. Yeah, I think that's about all my thoughts for Born Again season 7.
And that is all of our thoughts for this episode of the McDonCast. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing and telling your friends. You don't do any of that, but if hypothetically you did, that'd be awesome.
Pretend you do.
Pretend you do. We will be back next week for more news and talking out our butts. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.